Incoming transmission.
Oh, we're back. We're already back. What's up, everybody? GSL Season 2 already here. We just wrapped up an amazing Season 1 finals, and we're here ready for some more.
Yeah, man, it's only been a couple of days since the last weekend, but GSL continuing on already here with Season 2, and it's going to be an exciting start. Shin, runner-up from the last GSL season, is going to be playing today. It's a pretty stacked group, and I'm excited to be back.
It's good. We had 2 days off, and here we are again, and we're going to have Kira and Shin in the same group once more. ByuN's had an amazing run so far here in the year 2026, and we've got SOS returning.
Yeah, that's going to be real exciting, having SOS back. I know he tried to qualify in the last GSL season, but to make it through into the round of 12 this time, he's going to be playing now in Code S, and I'm so curious about where he's going to be at. It seems like his PBT right now, if his GSL qualifiers or any metric to go off of, it's looking really good, so we'll see how he's going to perform today.
So we're going to be on tonight and tomorrow night here for the round of 12, and then next week, same time, same place here for the round of 8. Our semifinals and finals are going to be on Sunday yet again. The Sunday broadcast will, there will be tickets for sale on that. If you want to come down, you are, of course, always welcome to do so. It was so good to meet you guys in person. You know, we don't have that many live studio dates, but it was great to do photos with you guys, sign stuff, say hello, just talk for a minute.
Yeah, having a live audience back is just the stuff dreams are made of. I live for offline Starcraft too, so thanks for you guys for showing up, and also thanks for you for supporting the GSL and making this possible. If you want to support the GSL, you can either do so directly on SOOP or go to patreon.com/GSL. There are a couple different tiers available. You can see all the perks right there on your screen. This is kind of where StarCraft 2 is at these days. A lot of the tournaments are getting crowdfunded. It's just where we are in the history of StarCraft 2. It's been, what, 15 or 16 years now, and for esports to continue on, it's the support of the fans that really is the lifeblood.
It's the will of the people. By the way, guys, we have these tiers that we're trying to hit. I guess you'd say like watermarks. And so we're going to see if we can get a Season 3 here. We're currently floating between the $6,000 and $10,000 goal. Excuse me. So, I mean, consider signing up if you would. As you saw on the previous graphic, we've got various ways to do it. You can do it on the SOOP site or app. You can do it on Patreon, whatever makes sense for you. Here's where we're at currently. Wow. Bit of an increase, actually, from the Season 1 finals just 2 or 3 days ago. So, yeah, I'm excited to be back here doing Season 2. It's kind of nice to be back in the rhythm of doing StarCraft 2. We've got RSL as well on the weekend here. There's a lot of StarCraft 2. If you like watching, there are games and casts out there for you to enjoy. And, it's exciting to have SOS back for the season as well. He's always good enough. He can show up and hang. He can compete.
We have a look at the format in 2026 GSL. It's the same if you've been watching earlier in Season 1 or from 2025. We have the round of 12 taking place today and tomorrow, but 4 players have already qualified through the GSL qualifiers. They have a second stage that seeds the top players directly into the round of 8, and those 4 players are Maru, Hero, Clem, and Rogue. So we have a foreigner competing in the GSL in the round of 8. That is Clem. He's already qualified. He's already waiting. You see right there, he'll be playing on the 27th. And if Clem wins that, I guess that means he's coming to the offline finals here in GSL. What a treat that would be.
That would be so crazy. I'd love to be casting Clem here on our final day. The studio would be going nuts for sure. But very cool to have a non-Korean here, a foreigner as the Koreans would call it, competing in this season of GSL. He'll be on next week because he is in the upper part of the qualification set here for our tournament. So today we're going to have Pure, SOS, ByuN, and Shin. We've been having a lot of Pure, ByuN, and Shin here the last 3 months, and I'm loving it. All 3 of these guys have played amazingly. With SOS, I don't know how he's going to perform here. This is, in periods of StarCraft 2, literally the best player of all time. My personal favorite player in the whole world to cast.
Oh, he's so much fun to cast.
Yeah, he probably has brought the biggest variety of impressive games ever. But he's going up against Cure. Cure is in incredible form. Cure really seems to be a Protoss slayer as well.
Yeah, Cure's TVP seems to be leveling up recently as he had a top 4 finish in the last GSL, partly on the back of his TVP. But, you know, SOS coming through the GSL qualifiers, he defeated Bunny and ByuN. That's how he made it here into the round of 12. So it looks like his PBT is also looking pretty good. And I think if Cure is in his top 4 form as he was literally last weekend, and SOS is on the up and up in PBT, I think we're going to have a pretty explosive series between these two.
Here he is, SOS.
He's gonna go play football right after the win today. All right.
Yeah.
I like that spirit, man. Staying active.
Yeah, I love it. Again, it's so exciting to have him down here. And you know, he's always been good enough. Although I don't know how active he is right now. I also know he was playing some Starcraft 1. There's been some guys playing both games for the time being, so I know he was active. That might have been last year. Fairly active in Starcraft 1. Obviously, a player who's good enough, if he can show up and play, to come here and play in Starcraft 2. But I don't know exactly how his approach to the game is. You know, SOS has always been able to kind of directly counter people strategically and also come up with strategies that you can never prepare for because they're so novel, so unique. And then he'll discard them for the rest of history. You never see them again. We're going to be on the map Ruby Rock here to start this best of 3 off. Cure, who has been absolutely active and looking terrifying, going up against, I guess what we call now our old school legend, SOS, in Group A here for our first best of 3 back in the GSL.
All right, Ruby Rock for map number 1 to kick off Season 2 of the GSL in 2026. We have SOS spawning. At the top left is the red Protoss, Cure, the blue Terran, and the bottom right. And an early probe scout here from SOS. Now, if this was Hero, I would be expecting this just to be a scout, and it very well could just be for a scout, but with SOS, you never really know, Tasteless.
Yeah, you never know what to expect. But it has been common with Protoss in general to basically just scout and see, like, is there a barracks here or is there not? Proxies have become very popular, and it's not like there's just one kind of proxy. There's been a lot of different kinds of proxies. I like the placement of this barracks, by the way, when the probe comes up. There's a lot less surface area to get unlucky with for the SCV. If it's on the depot or on the top right, the probe can't really harass it. And although we talked about the fact that there are a lot of proxies, you know, a wide array of different types of proxies in the game, this is not going to be one of those games. By the way, SOS actually making a pylon and his gateway in the back of his base behind the minerals, maybe so that if he is scouted, it might look like a proxy or some kind of weird Max Packs build.
It's a very interesting place to be building those structures. We haven't quite gotten a shot of it just yet, but you can tell on the mini-map, as Tasteless said, that pylon and gateway all the way tucked in the back of SOS's main base as he continues to scout the double gas opening here of Cure. It is a really cute wall that Cure went for.
Yeah, I really like. You know, it's one of those things you see it and you kind of think, I wonder if we're going to see that all the time right now, because it, you know, once you see the placement of it.
Hold on a second, Tasteless. SOS just took the 9 o'clock base as his second expansion. He doesn't. There's no SCV on the map. He didn't get blocked. There's no engineering bay block or anything. Wait, what on earth are you doing?
Are you
SOS?
sure there's no SCV block?
Yeah, there's no scout from Cure. He just decided to take the 9 o'clock, and I mean, this is just bizarre. I don't know if I've ever seen this.
Yeah, a voluntary far away second base.
But now Cure is going to scout the main base of SOS. Already something kind of funny is going to be there. There won't be a pylon, a gateway, and a core in the front. It'll be tucked away all the way in the back. And Cure notably is going to be seeing no expansion. And the moment the Reaper gets here into Protoss's expansion, alarm bells have to be ringing for Cure. He's going to be thinking, what are you doing? Where's your pylon? Where's your gateway even? And you see on the production tab, a bunker immediately thrown down.
Yeah, because this looks like his base is empty. It's not. And so he's basically been prompted into defending. Dude, this is so good. But if the Reaper sees this, okay, so yeah. By the way, maybe the most unfortunate time to be spotted right as it finishes. So he cancels that. So, I don't know about this. Okay, I gotta really think when I look at a game like this. So he's gonna make a robo. The thing is, I mean, to trick him into making a bunker and canceling is not that great, right? I mean, had this not been scouted, Terran would probably be scrambling to defend, maybe like rushing out a tank or something like that. Cure kills the Adept immediately. The problem when you take a third base far away is you're just really stretched trying to defend 2 locations. And like, yeah, you have recall, but like, you know, that's a finite resource as far as time in the game. And, you know, it's not like there's a creep highway you can use to connect your bases or anything. The infrastructure is split too, and maybe that's kind of the idea, to play safe, because Immortals are at least going to be here protecting the natural. The second base, I guess we can call it. It's not really the natural expansion. And then the gateway, well, I guess you can warp in, so you can make anything anywhere there. But I don't know. You know, it's going to be an easy mid-game for the Terran. I don't think there's anything you really have to worry about going into this, but
there might be Tasteless. We have another gateway being thrown down by SOS. He's built an Immortal already. A Warp Prism got started up, but I think identifying this drop, SOS instead earmarking some more minerals for Stalkers right now to try and intercept this medevac. I think he's going to try and get aggressive behind this build. Here, going for Cloak Banshees now, continuing to add in Siege Tanks. This production really ramping up here for the Terran player. Those 3 Widow Mines still on a trajectory towards the natural expansion. I should say the second expansion of SOS. It is not, in fact, at the natural. And with a clutch time on a Stalker Warp in, SOS should be able to deal with this without too much problem. Now, Cure is going to spot the Warp Prism. Actually, the Warp Prism is being utilized to potentially dodge the shots of the Widow Mines right now. That's why Cure isn't even letting these Widow Mines shoot at the probes.
yeah, it looks like he's kind of microed this. Again, this is a pretty big interruption. There's still 2 Widow Mines on the loose. 3 probe kills to only have 1 Widow Mine down. This is definitely good for Terran. Like a lot of the maps in StarCraft 2, you can always park the medevac in the vacant area behind the main. And look, I mean, SOS is just going to run across the map and hit. Now, I don't know how many probes are going to be lost in the process, but if Terran can't defend the entrance, that's going to be really hard to deal with. Here we go!
Able to get a Stalker and a probe. Warp Prism is in the main base now of Cure. Economic damage is going to take a lull here for Protoss, but I think the defensive setup that Cure has, especially keeping the Banshee back at home, is going to make it very challenging for SOS to actually find damage. I imagine we're going to see him take another expansion, and yeah, on the mini-map you see the natural just was taken by SOS.
Okay, he's going to land the Stalkers over here and try to get some kills of his own. Not going to be that easy to do, but I think we'll get a little bit here. Gets about 3 SCVs. He's going to recall that because obviously the Viking would have killed it. So back at home for Protoss, the Widow Mine is still a little bit of a threat. It looks like he will be able to get this one in here again. Not bad. And we know there's going to be a push, eventually here for Terran. Terran is getting a 3rd CC, so it's not an all-in. But I think, you know, SOS has taken a decent amount of damage, and it feels like it's going to get a little bit worse here. I mean, more probes are going to be killed by the Banshee.
No cloak, so it should make the defense a little bit easier. Unfortunately, SOS just threw down a Dark Shrine when that Banshee came into the main base, and the Banshee spawned at the moment that it started. So SOS was already trying to go for some unorthodox tactics, but Cure with a prompt scout able to figure that out very quickly. Already missile turrets being thrown down in the main base and the natural expansion here of Cure. And it's just a really defensive setup from Terran. I think he knows that the setup that SOS is going for with the 3 or 4 gateways and the robotics facility, the fast warp prism, SOS is trying to get aggressive. And if Cure can just delay as long as possible, getting a little bit of economic damage in, like the Banshee picking up 4 probe kills, the Widow Mines I think got 3 or 4 at least in total, while Cure effectively builds what is going to be a superb army here in the mid-game. It's a ton of Marines, Marauders, we have Siege Tanks added in, Engineering Bay upgrades are finishing up in just a minute.
We've pushed this game to the point where it doesn't really matter what order the bases were taken here for Protoss. He is going to move out here. There's no Raven to spot this. He's going to try to hit this 3rd CC. Oh, never mind. He scans, and he's actually going to kill that off. This is a lot for SOS. It's kind of scary.
Cure is going for a drop towards the main base of SOS. There is a spotter pylon warping in right now. I'm not sure if it's actually going to glimpse this medevac, though. It seems like the medevac just taking a wide angle. Able to skirt around where that pylon is. No spotting by SOS, just out of the field of vision. And it's going to be Blink DTs, too. Blink DTs and Blink Stalkers here, the techs of choice for SOS.
Okay, the Marines are going to rush in now. He's going to be able to take out a couple of workers here, and it's going to be a big force recall. Can he pick up the last second? No. He's going to have to just commit with this, what he's got over here. Oh, what? How is that possible?
6 HP on the medevac. Barely survives.
I've never been more confident in what I was going to say during a fight than that moment, and that got away.
I guess it was kind of a funny angle.
That's crazy. I can't believe that lived. So SOS takes a 4th base. And I got to say, SOS is looking good. The question is, how is he going to handle the push here from Cure? Because Cure's gotten so good at busting Protosses, it's kind of crazy.
I think a lot of this is going to come down to the very first fight, because SOS, although he is looking good right now, and he's keeping up with the Terran in terms of army, economically, he's actually not in the best position. He hasn't gone for any forge upgrades just yet, whereas Cure has a relatively fast engineering bay upgrade coming through. Already +1 infantry weapons is done, +1 armor is about 1/3 of the way done. And SOS has also been playing on a very low worker count. He's only at 58 probes right now, playing this on 3 gases, so a very mineral focus economy right now for SOS. And he might be even going for a double expand, but that doesn't mean the Protoss economy is going to be a lot better. He's still really struggling for income compared to the Terran. It's about 3,000 minerals a minute for Terran to the 2,500 of Protoss.
Okay, it's going to be 5 bases here for Protoss. We're getting into that point where the Protoss really does balloon out on the map, and they don't stop. It's not like you go on 5 bases and then, you know, you have to attack the Terran. Not at all. Right now in the matchup, it doesn't seem like you really have to kill the Terran right away at all. Now, SOS might try. That might be his approach in this game, but we've seen other Protosses that'll, you know, from here take the top right and the bottom left base and continue to grow. And just kind of power up and get to the point where their pockets are so deep, there's so many minerals, so much gas in the bank that they can refill and restock their army over and over and over again. And it's just so hard for the Terran to ever really get anything done.
And I think SOS taking these extra expansions, it's mostly just for the mineral income. You can see on the minimap, he's not really trying to saturate any of these Vespene geysers. SOS wants to build an army of basically pure gateway units. He's adding in 5 more gateways right now. Who knows how many gateways he's up to already. And so there's going to be a ton of zealots added into this army. And I'm expecting SOS in a couple of minutes, once he maxes out, to actually start looking for the fights, because the army that Kira is constructing with 2 starports, with ghosts, with all the engineering bay upgrades coming in, is going to be so much more cost effective than what SOS has. But SOS is going to need to leverage his mineral income to trade out.
Yeah, we've got a big push coming in here. A lot of the SCVs are going to get killed off. Actually, not as many as I thought. Only about 9 there. Still a decent amount. And it looks like the Warp Prism goes down as well, so SOS not quite good at the multitasking there. But he is continuing to expand everywhere on the map. And you know, we have seen Cure, maybe the only Terran in the world that can kind of just sit through this abuse and then have enough Marauders and enough, you know, other stuff like Ghosts and late game tech to then push out across the map and counter and win. So we'll see if it's going to be that kind of game or not. This is annoying. He's going to lose his factory.
Yeah, it's all right. It served the purpose. We already have 2 starports out for Cure, so I'm not sure he's going to be especially worried about losing his factory.
You don't need tanks in this phase of the game, so.
Could repair it, too, if he really wanted to. SOS now adding in another Warp Prism, getting Warp Prism speed as well. He's going to try and pull Cure apart the best he possibly can. And again, for SOS, even though he's continuing to expand to the bottom left, which I think actually looking at the minimap, Cure is trying to take out the expansion. Yeah, there is a drop over here, which might be able to get the cancel on this Nexus. This is a very low tech army for Protoss. We are finally adding in a second robotics facility to go with the Robo Base, so Colossi are likely going to be on the table in just a couple of minutes, but it's mostly gateway units. We just have a couple of Immortals added in, and this is not an army that scales well into the late game.
I mean, SOS is getting so big. He's leaving some supply open. You know, he could use that to like fly a Warp Prism to the main and then do a big warp in over there. But Cure has basically just kind of turtled, like the ultimate turtle style. And he's finally moving out. So, you know, this base, it's expendable. When you get this big, one way to play the game is to just counterattack because the Terran has less bases. So their bases are more valuable to them. You know, you could basically lose 1 to 2 bases as Protoss and still have a bigger economy. But Cure's been pretty smart. He's basically fractioned off small little squads, moving out and hitting and then running back while still having enough to defend.
love the addition of proxy gateways now on the map, just adding even more warp in points, plus the warp prism speed, because if SOS wants to win this game and take favorable fights versus Cure, it's going to rely on SOS being able to pull Cure apart by attacking in a lot of different locations at once. And with 2 warp prisms over here on the bottom side, with speed, I wonder if we're going to have both of those actually sent to the main base, because look at the minimap, I think that we have a ring of missile turrets in the main of Cure to deny 1 warp prism, but if you go with 2 speed prisms, well then suddenly SOS is guaranteed to get one into the main base and start warping in.
All right, he's going to set up. There is going to be a clash up here at the top right, too. But I do think Cure's army is basically better. He's going to fly this all the way into the middle.
It still dies to the turrets.
No, it's so funny. He has these Vikings, but there's no Colossus here. Yeah, I mean, he's going to wipe this out pretty badly. It does seem like we never had the Colossus tech come, which I kind of just assumed was always going to eventually get here one way or the other. So we have these like Vikings that don't really do anything, which I guess is going to be fine. We'll see if the counterattacks here from SOS can do anything, but I don't know how SOS is going to fight the core army that is available here. Nice shoot down here from SOS.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's possible for SOS to take a favorable trade with Cure's army at this point. SOS has been reset so many times, he's even lost half of his immortal count. It's mostly just Zealots and Stalkers still for SOS. I honestly believe if Cure were to push across the map right now, the best chance SOS would have would be to go for a base trade, because he cannot contest this army. Even with such a small amount of forces here, you can look at the minimap, there's just a gigantic blob of Terran over here in the northeast. SOS cannot push in. It's just too hard a task versus a Terran that's got upgraded Liberators. I mean, we have them being produced 2 at a time right now. All these ghosts, siege tanks back at home, missile turrets in the main base. Cure's defense is so tight.
Yeah.
And all right, SOS gonna be trying to attack in again here on the top right, but the Disruptors aren't especially good at pushing into those kind of skirmishes. So SOS will take 1 favorable trade over here, expanding all the way to the 6 o'clock position on the map. So most of the expansions on the map, they are SOS's, but one tab I would love to see more than anything else is the Units Lost tab, because I guarantee you, Cure has been so much more cost efficient over the course of this game.
Yeah,
it must look ridiculous.
That was the greatest EMP of all time. I think he literally hit every single unit. Like, if you wanted to see like what the EMP radius looks like, if it's filled up with a unit for every part of it, that's it. I actually think SOS is probably going to die in this game. Now, the counterattacks look kind of scary, but I don't think that he actually has any way to kill the core army that we have for Cure. Like, Cure's just going to continue to rampage here. Cure is going to have a hard time defending this spot over here, but I think as reinforcements come out, oh, well, hold on, Cure actually has these Liberators set up, ready to defend. This army is what I'm worried about here for SOS.
The army's absolutely massive, and SOS, he does have a considerable bank, 3,500 minerals and about 1,000 gas in total. If he warps in everything on Cure's side of the map, there is a chance that he's able to slowly whittle down the Terran, but it's going to rely on him not just taking down these expansions, but I think also getting on top of the production, because the expansions alone, I don't believe they're going to cut it here for SOS.
Yeah, you know, the issue is I think Cure can kind of abandon everything that he's got and just produce from his main, and he should be okay. He's got Liberators guarding this. It's a lot of Stalkers, though. Hold on a second.
SOS is remaxed very effectively. But
oh, no, he's got enough up here.
There's just so much. I mean, the army supplies are 162.
We're seeing this a
Cure
lot
right now.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. We're seeing this a lot in this matchup right now, where it like kind of there's this big attack from Terran and this counter attack from Protoss, and this is like the giant crescendo of the entire game. And what happens is that Terran basically kills off everything. Turtles, and you know, both sides are in shambles, but Terran can kind of lift off with Command Center and slowly come out and turtle again. And Protoss is never able to rebuild the important attack. I don't know about this from Cure. Let's see how well this actually does. It's a lot of Stalkers. Oh, there's even more here. Yeah, this game's over. GG.
All right, Cure takes game number 1 with just an impenetrable defense and then well-handled management of the base trade that SOS goes for. And hey, you're right, we haven't seen this a lot, especially in GSL, this base trade late game style of PvT. And I suppose it makes sense as the next natural evolution of where the PvT meta is at, because we already have Protoss players expanding all the way across the maps in most of the expansions. And they're constructing armies that aren't particularly strong, especially in a maxed out scenario, because it's mostly gateway units.
Right.
But because you have so many bases for the Terran player to try and take out, as long as you don't go head-to-head versus the main army, as SOS tried to demonstrate in that game where it was just avoiding the main force of Cure for as long as possible, you might just be able to base trade a little bit more quickly than the Terran, and then if you can remax and get a couple production cycles in at one of your other expansions elsewhere on the map, then maybe through just a sheer bank, you will be able to finally eclipse the Terran. It's a curious approach to PvT, just never going for the direct fight if you can't make it happen. Didn't work for SOS there in game number 1. Game 2 is about to load in. I wonder if we're going to deviate from the game plan in game number 1 here as SOS and go for something a little bit more quirky. We already had a little bit of a bizarre opening in game 1 from SOS. Let's see what he has prepared for us here in game 2.
Yeah, the game 1 opening was very SOS, by the way. Like, hide the main, you know, your starting tech, the gateway behind your minerals, which, by the way, like, nobody ever does. And then take like a weird second base that you weren't forced to take to make it look like you're one base all in. Obviously, the Reaper just scouted it. Okay.
Proxy pylon.
Right over the sponsor. Right over the Intel sponsor logo. Okay, so obviously SOS is not down for a long game.
I love this mix-up coming in from SOS. It looks like it's just going to be one proxy gateway. I was curious whether he might throw down a second one and really try and commit to this. And one proxy gateway is kind of like one proxy barracks in this matchup, where it does have the potential, if Cure is able to deal with the attack effectively, for this to transition into a normal-looking game. But SOS, I mean, make no mistake, he is absolutely looking to get damage done with this proxy gateway early on.
So let's see when Cure actually scouts how ready he's going to be for this. I'm a little bit worried for SOS. I think this is probably, if he was going to win, this is the way to do it. I think he's going to have to be kind of active and make the game, kind of shape the game in his own way and make Cure react. I think you can't just kind of play macro PvT with Cure. Cure seems to be maybe the best at this in the whole world. And kind of just like staying back and not really doing anything and letting the Protoss take the whole map. And then later on kind of having this like giant bulldozing army that just goes across the map, having all the right tech to deal with the counterattacks and swinging the game in a base trade situation here. But Cure's also been so good against everything early on. He really is becoming one of those like impossible to hurt Terran players. Those are always the scariest ones, where everything you try early doesn't work, and then the push comes later and you always die.
Natural expansion is getting thrown down for SOS, but already there are 2 Zealots out on the map. Stalker's nearly complete as well. And now the pressure is going to be coming into the main base here of Cure. There are no military units here for Cure, so we need to rely on SCVs purely to repair because the Reaper's all the way cross map. And actually, there was no shield battery built to the main base here for SOS, so he has to recall the Stalker. That's going to take a little bit of the firepower away from the attack on the front line. The probe also body blocking one of the Zealots as SOS is trying to get damage done on the reactor. That will buy Cure a lot more time. And Cure is confident enough, even knowing there's a proxy barracks, or a proxy gateway, excuse me, to cancel the bunker.
Move this tab! Okay, so there's this kind of attempt to use the probe to bait the shot and then do more damage. I mean, Cure's handled that basically perfectly. You know, it is a little bit annoying for, is he going to try to bait this out again? He's going to use this. So look at this micro fight here. He's basically trying to not waste the mine shot on the Zealot. The thing is, every time this has to unburrow, yeah, there you go, it gets shot down. Really nice by SOS. I kind of thought this was over, but the micro fight, SOS does in fact come out on top.
Yeah, there is a timer put on this pressure by the Cyclone that's about halfway done. Stalkers are able to whittle down the Marine count to just 2. But it feels like this stage where SOS can continue to find damage on Cure's side map is effectively ending. And
yeah,
SOS recognizes that. He pulls the Stalkers back now. He's transitioning into, again, a robotics facility and a gateway before Twilight Council. So SOS, both in game 1 and game 2, loves this 3 or 4 gateway with robo transition.
Yeah, and you could probably go into a War Prism and an Observer here, try to harass there. Terran's going to counterattack on the map. Cyclone and Marines. Now you know the gateway is going to be somewhere in the middle of the map or somewhere near you because the two Zealots got there the way they did. He's going to see it right over here. So do you just drop here and go for the pylon, or do you come back later? Okay, he answers that question before I can finish my finish the statement. And it looks like SOS is very ready for this.
3 Stalkers going to immediately focus fire down that medevac, so it's got to get away. Already only 31 HP, and I think at this point for Kira, you just go ahead and try and take down that pylon and find what damage you can. But oh, Stalkers got warped in at the forward gateway by SOS, so he picks off the medevac. Unfortunately, the Cyclone is able to take down one of these Stalkers, and with some good stutter step micro, threatens another. But I think SOS is going to be able to clean this up. I mean, that's an excellent trade for just 1 Stalker. Well done by SOS.
Yeah, I mean, that was unfortunate for Cure. I don't blame him for trying to come across the map and do something. The problem is that he's really not working with a lot now. And this is 4-gate with Warp Prism, like I was saying earlier. So, like, this is pretty scary. Like, if you don't have the right amount of material to fight this, you will just die to this build order. So he's got the bunker. Now, we need to see the 3rd tank come out and to see all the tanks connected. By the way, the tank on the high ground for Cure is probably not in a good spot. Should probably be behind the barracks. The placement of everything is kind of set up to deal with the rush that was hitting early on, but it's not going to be set up in the mid game to really hold this attack off very easily. Well, I'm saying that, but then again, he's not actually sending all of his Stalkers out. He's going to send an Immortal out and the two Stalkers inside the Warp Prism. So this is looking a little bit different than what I thought.
I think the lack of Blink just really limits the options right now for SOS to get damage done. So instead he's going to be pivoting, trying to get some harassment in here. Mortal and 2 Stalkers. Might even be able to snipe a couple of siege tanks, which will be excellent for SOS, set up for later attacks in this game.
Yeah, it's going to take out that depot. 1 depot for a Stalker. Meanwhile, the 3rd Nexus is coming down here. Now, Terran is also not going to be doing a whole lot of aggro stuff. There's a 3rd command center started here. I think when you see a Warp Prism floating around the outside of your base, you got to be pretty careful and kind of just defend. And more gates are coming down here for SOS.
Yeah, more gateways for SOS, and it's actually charged before Blink. SOS still playing this on 2 Vespene Geysers, by the way. Gas is not yet taking the natural expansion, so he is getting ready to have a huge swarm of Zealots. And should Kira go for some very early aggression with this build, which we didn't see from him in game number 1. Game number 1 was a much more passive style from Kira, but if he mixes it up and tries to get some damage done to SOS, perhaps thinking that he's further ahead than he actually is because of the odd early game, I think that will play into SOS's hands quite well. You can see SOS even hiding some of those Zealots from the Banshee as he was taking it out. Did not want Kira to recognize exactly what the setup is for SOS, because in a perfect world here is Protoss, Terran attacks into you, and you just absolutely overwhelm them with a ton of charged Zealots. You carry that momentum to a victory later on in the game.
Yeah, this is definitely a trap that Kira could walk right into, because what SOS is going to have is a lot. Now, SOS, we kind of talked about this in the previous game. He did not really go for the splash that we're kind of used to seeing, like, let's say somebody like Classic go for, right? Where it's like Colossus and then Disruptors. And so this never fares too well if the game goes on for really long. But if you want to hit really hard in the mid game, there's like 4 more gates finishing. +1 is halfway done. Charge is complete. And Terran, having Stim about to finish, just now finishes, he might just move out. And when he takes his 3rd base, he could be completely overrun.
I suppose even if Kira doesn't attack and it just tries to secure a 3rd expansion, that might also be the window here for SOS to try and get some damage done. As you see SOS potentially setting up for an attack right now by moving his army closer and closer to the 3rd base of Kira. And charge is done. There aren't too many Zealots on this side of the map, but we still have the proxy gateway to warp in from and reinforce. And there is a Warp Prism also getting staged near the natural expansion of Kira. A couple different angles of attack that could be viable here for SOS. And Kira, I think, is wisely mixing in some Widowmine to this composition. But here we go. First 4 Zealots potentially dropping here in the natural expansion. For now, it's just 1.
And is he going to actually come up here with this army? He definitely needs a little bit more Zealots. The spread, actually, maybe Kira's okay. That looks pretty healthy. The Widowmine placement, the tanks. The Zealots are going to come in here, so we are going to have an attack. There's a Raven. Yeah, let's see what he can do. The Archon's going to join with this as well. Blink has started, but I don't think we're going to be waiting for Blink to be done here. He has Zealots, so I think he's going to actually Zealot bomb on the tanks, or he's going to fly that into the main. Or he's going to go back home. I don't know what's going on here.
It's hard to attack into the defensive position of Kerr. You know there's going to be a lot of siege tanks, a lot of Widow Mines set up in a very good defensive position. What SOS really wants is for Kerr to try and come on the map so he could just pounce on his army, but I don't think Kerr is going to be doing that. You see him just sending out feelers right now with Vikings, with Ravens. We still, I believe, don't even have Blink on these Stalkers, so there's very little that SOS can actually do to try and get some damage done with these units. And SOS is now double expanding, but up until a moment ago, he was still in the 50s in terms of worker count, playing on just 4 gases, so very Zealot heavy. And it seems like now's the time for SOS to finally move in. The Zealots charge, they splinter between the natural expansion and the third armor shredding missile on most of the backline here for SOS, but the Zealots are mostly uncontested there on the front. SOS, though, he does not like that angle, especially behind the depots for Cure. He's going to retreat, wait for the armor shredding missile to expire.
Yeah, I just don't know about this position. The layout is really nice here. The Widow Mines are going to be renewed. He's going to EMP that. There's going to be some crazy mine shots that are going to connect. And, I mean, he just can't get anything done. Cure is just so good at kind of stepping back, letting the splash damage come in, spreading out, stimming, and then hitting again.
Yeah, this style of Protoss where you don't play for splash damage, you instead just focus on a mineral-heavy army, which is mostly Zealots. It is really good at meeting the Terran player in an open field, but if the Terran plays the way that Cure is and just slowly, methodically expands in a safe manner, you know that you're getting outscaled, and that pressures you into attacking as the Protoss player. But at the same time, you can see the defensive setup of Cure. It is so effective at really shutting down any aggression that SOS tries.
Yeah, SOS basically went for a bust. Which, by the way, we don't really see anybody do this anymore. At least not this year. Like the setup for like, okay, you're on 3 bases, I'm going to hit you really hard and run you over. With, and when I say that, I mean with Charge and Immortals, with Archons. That's not as popular. And now Cure is really big. Cure's on 4 bases, and you know, Protoss right now. I mean, look at the army. It's 4 Immortals, it's 2 Archons. This is not the kind of splash damage you need. Not that Archons obviously, you know, they have splash damage, but you need like Colossus or Storm, Disruptors maybe after that. And this is all intended to kind of overrun a Terran, but look at like the turtling here from Cure. The Planetary, the Widow Mines, the bottlenecks like this one here. Like, are you ever going to be able to get up here? He's kiting this down, and again, the punish is real. He just isn't really able to get in there, and he's kind of bleeding off units over time. And we know that Cure, like all of his games, there's going to be an inevitability of like lots of Marauders, Ghosts, all that tech that you need where it's going to be your turn. And that's where we're going to see him drive a stake through SOS's heart, I think. He's just going to be able to push all the way across the map and do a lot. And you can even see the supply difference now. It's literally SOS trying to bust Cure with a smaller army. And by the way, when Cure holds this, it's a fraction of his army. It's like a third or half holding it, because he has, like you can see here, he has stuff elsewhere. So even though we see SOS taking bases, which, by the way, generally is a good thing directionally for Protoss in a game like this, I don't think the tech is here to back it up. By the way, he's going to go double robo, so he's going to try to hard shift into that tech. So this is actually going to be triple robo, excuse me, because he probably realizes I need splash. I can't just have Immortals. I need to have like Disruptor, Colossus, everything if I'm going to fight this.
I think it's wise of SOS to try and pull back the aggression a little bit and instead opt to try and go for something a bit more tech heavy. He's already taken additional gases, has a high yield Vespene gas in the top right center as well. So the gas income for SOS, it is now very healthy. I think eventually he is going to go for at least one more small skirmish just to trade out some of these Zealots, potentially some Stalkers, to remax some more cost-efficient units back at home. But up until this point, I mean, SOS, he's just been really struggling with the cost efficiency because Cure's defense has been so ironclad on his side of the map. And this is really the first aggressive move we see Cure going for right now. It's another medevac drop here at the 14 minutes. Very low stakes pressure coming in by Kira. Just trying to get a feel for exactly where the economy is at.
Yeah. Where exactly is Kira going to try to push? It seems like it's about time for him to do this. By the way, we do have to have him deal with this giant SOS death ball well. You know, I mean, you can trade out, but you have to basically win so hard that the Protoss flatlines and you run across the map. Okay, so here we go. He's going to move out now.
Liberator's on siege. Another armor shredding missile catching a lot of the Zealots, plus the EMPs. Some clutch spellcasting by Kira. That's going to force SOS to disengage, but not until SOS already loses a lot of those units on the front line. And I was watching the production time. He's actually remaxing on Stalkers, so it feels like SOS, he's gearing up for one more bust. He's not investing this freed up supply into building more Colossi or more Disruptors. He wants to attack again.
He's going to try to come in here and hit once more. And, I mean, this is, well, the Liberators make it tough. There's a lot of Stalkers here. The Liberators actually can still take a pretty decent fight. The Archon doing some work here as well. The Marauders, the Marines are going to come around from the side. And, you know, with Stim, it's very tough, especially Stim combined with Concussive, to ever really run away because the weaker units get pinged. They get slowed down. It looks like he's going to turn and try to fight this. You know, it's crazy. Even when you see the Immortals turn and fight, there's so much. By the way, 187 supply to 131. So this is probably where Kira's delivered a game where the counterattack is going to start to become fatal. I think he's going to just quickly regroup. And I don't know what the right direction to go in is. There will be counterattacks and probably only counterattacks here from SOS.
I thought that Kira, that was so funny. I thought that Kira was waiting until he has some medivacs because his units are so low on HP, right? I was like, oh, surely he's building some medivacs. We go to the production tip, it was 5 Liberators being built all at the same time. So now he's going to add in some more medivacs. He starts up 3 more, but yeah, I think you just want to wait until you have the healing right now as Kira. You're feeling no pressure to move on the map because you're already saturated on these 5 bases. And SOS's army, you can see it right here. I mean, he's able to get a value pickoff in an orbital command center, but in a head-to-head engagement with the core army of Kira, the gateway composition is really going to struggle. SOS is now pivoting into adding 3 Robo Colossi. 3 of them already out on the map, which is going to be a great addition. But already, Kira's army has all of the pieces of the puzzle. It's heavy on Liberators. 3-3 is coming online pretty soon. The ghost count is enormously high. Already 13 ghosts for Kira. Kira's playing a very slow, methodical game, and I like that he's taking it at his own pace, because already the bank of Kira is so much better than SOS's just because of the gas that he has. You're really not on a clock here as Terran. It might feel like it if you look at the mini-map, but Terran is absolutely not on the clock. Kira can play as slow as he wants.
Yeah, now Kira's going to move out, and he's going to start to do the sweep. And the problem is, I don't think the Protoss can actually stop this arm. Well, maybe he can actually. I stand corrected. That's a big warp in. Yeah, the problem is that you're going to have a really complicated amount of splash to try to fight this. Now, maybe SOS can do it. He's making cannons. He's making batteries here. I actually think when you get this far along, cannons are probably one of the most important things to get. Is just have so much damage. Just like when you see planetary fortresses for Terran. You know, where like you sometimes you see a planetary fortress, it's not even on an expansion, it's like next to the expansion. Because if there's just enough damage, just enough material to sponge up the fight, that when your army comes and you clear it, that's kind of the play. So maybe Kira is getting zoned out here.
That was a nice trade for SOS over at the 1 o'clock expansion, but they're cleaning up the core army here of SOS in the center. Colossus count perhaps reset down to just 1 or 2, as SOS is going to fire up a couple more there on the production tab. Trying to reinvest in those critical, high-value units. That's going to allow Kira to take some of the pressure off the front and focus his energies here on the top side. I'm not sure SOS is enough to defend. He blinks forward. With the reinforcements coming in from the south side, there might be enough here for SOS, but I mean, honestly, the art for Kira is so good on this ramp. And even landing the orbital just to make it another choke point here for Protoss to get through. I mean, Kira's playing a masterful TVP.
He is, but he hasn't quite made that progress yet, right? He's going to have to take the space out up here. SOS is going to immediately counterattack into this location. This should draw some of the army back. I do think, though, Kira probably is going to have enough Vikings to always kind of confront this, though, right? And the top right bases are going to be flattened eventually.
Kira finally securing this location. to begin harvesting from. Planetary Fortress surely going to begin morphing in just a moment. That's going to be an angle for SOS to attack in once more. This bio, not a lot of healing. So a low number of Medivacs right now, but the Liberator's just doing quick work.
God, look at that supply just go to half right now.
I want to see the units lost tab so bad. I want to see how cost-efficient Kira's been. It's some of the most cost-efficient TVP I feel like you will ever see has been in Game 1 and Game 2 of this series.
Yeah, I mean, Kira is now wiping out the top right. Remember that Protoss has been drinking up resources from the bottom right quadrant the whole game, right? So now it's going to be about the two corners. SOS is not able to remax the same way that Kira is. By the way, Kira with more gas than minerals. So it's not even that you can remax. Like, look at, Protoss has got, was over 2k minerals there. That's like all Zealots. And this is where we see the counterattack that's just so teched out that you can't muster a force that can stop it. So SOS is going to try to counter. The problem is I think that only buys so much time.
Yeah, SOS going for the base trade. Once again, a familiar story to game number 1 as DT is getting to work. Also here at the 11 o'clock, scan's going to come down. I think there might actually be enough SCVs to repair this. The DTs, they're pretty low in number.
He's okay.
Wow.
He holds that.
Kira defending while also taking out the expansions of the Protoss on the other side of the map. That's going to force a recall here from SOS.
Kind of a scattered recall. Some stuff comes back, other stuff does not. And Kira really just reconfigures what he's got and then goes right back to what his plan was all along, which is to come back here and pound everything on this side of the map. The top right's been wiped. The bottom left will probably be the next target, although I think Kira's right now looking more for fights on the map than necessarily expansions to wipe out. He needs to keep the resources really oppressed here for SOS.
So many Zealots in this army. This army's almost pure Zealots. Like SOS is playing a mono battle right now.
Yeah.
He's going to go for another counterattack, another base trade. But Kira's army is just looking so good in this moment. SOS going to try and take on this base. The Zealots, I think, are even going to struggle to get surface area onto this planetary fortress because of the SCV's body blocking with a repair. I don't think he can take on this planetary tasteless. I mean, I guessed in the end, but that's going to be it. GG is called.
GG, beautifully done there by Kira. I think SOS looked not terrible in the late game, but he wasn't, I think, trying to play a 2026 StarCraft 2 PvT. I think you need that splash damage. I think you need to have the ability to kind of punish the clumpiness of a Terran army. And I don't think you're going to do it with Immortal Archon Zealot overwhelming that. Kira's too good at basically positioning everything where, it's too, the SimCity's too good, it's too difficult to break.
Yeah, one of the scariest things that a Terran player can do on the current meta of PvT is just stand back and defend and craft the perfect army. And Kira did that wonderfully in Game 1, wonderfully to Game 2. Just had the perfectly sculpted force to absolutely steamroll the armies of SOS.
We're going to go to a short break. When we come back, ByuN versus Shin coming up next.
that you're longing for a little change. A bit of something different in a different place. Somewhere the grass is greener. Call it a spiritual healer. I hear you, darling, I feel you.
GSL Season 2.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for waiting. We're going to go into our next match here. This is one that's pretty exciting, honestly. ByuN versus Shin. Shin on fire as of the last season. Always looking better and better.
Yeah, it should be a really electric TVZ because ByuN was top 8 in last season, looking so good, especially in the round of 12 and the first couple of maps in the round of 8. But Shin, I mean, he's really been leveling up. I mean, he just made his second GSL finals ever, got second place to Hero, finally took down Maru, which, I mean, I'm so happy for Shin finally being able to do that. It feels like the current meta of Zerg, both in ZVP and ZVT, it really plays well for Shin's style, and I love to see him embracing it.
This is going to be so fun. You know, casting Shin in the finals a couple days ago, that was like the best I've ever seen him play. And that's saying a lot. I've been casting Shin for like over 10 years. You know, this guy is one of the fixtures of Starcraft 2, especially here in Korea. Chicken dinner for me today. Well, hopefully you got to be a winner first. But, you know, Shin, just if he can keep this momentum, I think ByuN doesn't stand a chance. Those ZVTs he played against Maro were incredible. Now, ByuN's a little bit of a different player. But I think the general rule is if you can beat Maro, you can definitely beat ByuN, right?
Yeah, if you can take down Maro, you can take down absolutely anybody. It's just about the preparation. It's about the form on the given day. You know, ByuN is one of these players that I think could go toe-to-toe with Shin for sure. They had a very close series actually just a couple of weeks ago in GSL Season 1 where they basically ran the gauntlet. I want to say it was went to a map number 3, and it felt like every single map lasted 15 to 20 minutes. I just remember it being a marathon of back and forth fighting. I'm kind of expecting the same thing from them here in the round of 12.
Did he say it's raining today, so I think I'll win?
He likes the rain.
Okay. It is actually terrible outside today.
Yeah, he gets to play from home. I like the rain if I'm staying at home, but if I have to come down to the studio, I hate the rain. My shoes are still soggy. I have soggy socks right now.
That's the worst. You got it. You can't let your feet get wet. That's what Lieutenant Dan said is don't let your feet get wet.
Well, he doesn't have any feet. I don't think he knows what he's talking about. Tasteless.
He would know better than anybody. He has no legs. All right, guys, we're going to go into this best of 3. ByuN versus Shin, starting now.
All right. Second series of the day. ByuN spawning here in the top right as the blue Terran Shin, the runner-up of the last season of GSL, spawning in the bottom left as the red Zerg. And both these players over the course of the last season have been playing really aggressive styles in the mid-game where they're constantly contesting control, they're constantly looking for trades, even if it means they're playing on a relatively lower eco than you might expect from one of their peers. And I feel like that generally translates into close games between these two where it's really hard for either player to knock the other one out because there's no greed. Or if there is, there's a very small amount of greed compared to some of the other TVZs you get to see. Everyone's really playing to try and be the aggressor on their own side of the map. Leads to some fun games, but it also leads to some absolute marathons.
Yeah, let's see what Shin's got in store for us. I mean, he did just have that big finals. I would imagine he had to use up all of the TVZ ideas that he had there, right? Like, I don't expect to see any kind of crazy novel stuff unless he thinks there's something that's kind of like maybe a lower level curveball you could, you know, bring out and maybe take Shin down. Otherwise, or sorry, take ByuN down. Otherwise, I think we're going to see kind of standard play from him. You know, and remember, this is like a double Terran group. Like, Cure just won. If Shin's going to go out here in the fastest possible path, it's going to be nothing but ZVTs. And we also don't know exactly how Cure and Shin really size up because they were on opposite sides of the bracket.
Yeah, that's right.
From last season, I mean.
This is a very stacked group, honestly, for the round of 12. Cure and Shin, both top 4 in the last GSL season. ByuN was looking like he was going to make top 4, just barely missed the cusp in the round of 8. Of course, SOS, always a wild card. But here in game number 1, pretty standard openings on both sides. ByuN just going for 1 Reaper into Marines here. With the 1 Rax opening on the high ground, likely we'll be churning out some Reactor Hellions in a couple of minutes to exert some more map control. Whereas Shin, you know, just a simple hatch opening here on the natural expansion. Queen finishing right on cue to send away this Reaper.
Queen spawn body block there. Back at home, we'll see you know, what kind of game ByuN really wants to give us. You know, ByuN has had some kind of I don't want to say off-brand, but off-standard meta TVZ builds. You know, a lot of people, they go for the 3rd command center here, which I guess that's what he's going to do. I was going to say, you know, he has had a couple games where he's gone for like 3 racks or, you know, some other kind of timing. But this looks like it's going to be a very, very orthodox textbook, you know, 3 CC, 8 racks, push, all mechanics, no deception, you know, classic TVZ build.
Yeah, and if it goes for an 8 racks push like that, I'm wondering if he's actually going to be able to knock out Shin. Because Shin, in a lot of the ZVTs that he played in the last season of GSL, was playing on relatively low drone counts in the mid game, which does make his late game a little bit weaker, but it gives him a lot more chances and a lot more breathing room in the mid game, whether it be him trying to go for counterattacks, whether it be Shin just trying to parry attacks on his side of the map. And so ByuN does build up to that 8 racks build. I'm very curious how it would play out. I think a lot of it's going to come down to specifically the upgrade timings. So we got to keep our eyes on the production tab for when ByuN is going to, you know, bite the bullet, throw down 2 engineering bays, and invest into the late game. Because I think against Shin style, one of the things that always strikes me as impressive, especially when Shin plays against Maru, is how effective very fast upgrades can be against a Zerg player who is focused on the mid game and usually teching into 3-3 and a hive quite late.
So for now, we've got the Roach upgrades coming along. 3rd hatchery's done. And, you know, TVZs like this, they're generally kind of slow. You know, it's both sides powering up, both sides teching, developing. The Overseer, by the way, this is the most cavalier 3rd command center you could ever place. Not attempted to be hidden. Literally right out on the edge, so it gets fast travel time to the low ground. But, you know, that Overseer is going to send Zerg into the exact trajectory he wants versus a 3rd CC right away. Now, we've had some games where Zergs are attacking out on this and, you know, doing Roach Ravager. I don't know if it's going to be one of those games. Shin did like Roach Ravager into Ultralisk a lot versus Maru. And so, you know, we may have... Okay, so he's droning up a little bit.
It does look like it might be one of those Roach Ravager and Ultra games. Just the fact
Yeah.
that we're going for Roaches so early. Was that an infestation pit? That
It was, yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, in my mind, you know, when I see like a 3rd command center and I see the Zerg seed, I think, okay, he's going to take a 4th and, you know, maybe a 5th. He's going to power up. But yeah, it seems almost like what Shin wants to do is basically grapple with the Terran at the peak of the push and kind of shut it down and start smashing all the other bases and leave the Terran destabilized so that in the late game, it's kind of easy for the Zerg to clean up as long as you didn't hemorrhage Ultralisks.
Yeah, we'll see if this is going to be the really fast hive play coming in by Shin. Infestation pit just now finishing up. 2 more gases getting taken. Shin could afford the hive in just a minute if he wanted to get this started, and Roaches are usually a pretty strong bastion to have on the front line to buy you space, buy you time to actually tech up in the hive. But it seems like for now, Shin is happy to try and play for the mid game. First, focus on stopping the Marine pressure, or whatever early pressure it is, from ByuN, and that's why we have 3 Infestors getting started, plus 1 Carapace is now done. I imagine we'll have a couple more Roaches and some +2 upgrades come in for Shin.
Yeah, we're going to get the creep spread. And you know, he's going to hit... Oh, never mind. He's going to loop around from the this side over here. I thought he was going to actually come to the bottom of the fourth because there's no base there. So he's going to clean up a little bit of the creep timbers. He's not spinning any scans, by the way. The infestors are back. I don't know that the Ravens saw it or not. But, I mean, look at ByuN. He's so good with the dance of the Marine medevac. Clearing the creep tumors. Again, with that Raven, just a spot, so you don't have to waste scans. You can keep landing mules. You can keep powering up back at home, and then never letting those infestors get close. 1-1's going to finish up, and 2-2 will start right after that.
Hive about halfway done now for Shin. Transition into Ultralisks. Coming through the pipeline right now. Seems like there are enough roaches and lings to force back ByuN from this position. And we'll turn and trade with 1-1. A little bit of damage done. The lings actually don't even have speed just yet. It's a bit of a funny chase right now by Shin going on to ByuN's side of the map, but you gotta be careful pushing all the way into the Lion's Den here as Shin.
Yeah, and I don't think Shin's gonna actually push in and hit. I think we're past that point in the game of any kind of like real Roach Ravager like attacks, but he is gonna get that Ultralisk Cavern. He will eventually get that 5th base, and it's gonna be grappling time. He's gonna really try to shut down the Terran as he moves in. Now Terran's gonna push into this. Here we go. Huge armor shred there. The fungals are great. It does not kill the tank. The corrosive biles, excuse me, do not kill the tank.
Biles just slightly misplaced there by Shin, so Siege Tank will survive for now. Ultralisk Den about halfway done. This is a big window for ByuN to try and get some damage done of his own. He's already making a transition to easily bridge the gap later on.
I don't feel like Terran should be attacking her. This feels way too deterministic.
I don't mind it too much by ByuN. I mean,
so?
unless you get a money fungal here as Shin, it's pretty tough to actually unseat Terran from this position, especially with the tanks there on the back line.
Okay, we're going to see. He is going to fungal it again, and those biles are going to decimate everything that ByuN has. 4 Ultras are coming. The 5th base has started, by the way. Oh, I'm sorry. It's almost done, actually, by the way.
Yeah, well, I mean, Shin got the money fungal, so now this is a very scary position here for ByuN. Counterattack coming into the 3rd base. Lings decide not worth trading themselves out for the SCVs just yet, as ByuN has the rally pretty close to it. The power spike for Zerg's be coming in just a minute. 4 Ultras are on the way. +3 Carapace also getting research. Ultralisk armor getting started. Adrenal as well. There's about to be a huge power spike for Shin, and I think once these Ultras are done and the upgrades are nearing completion, that's probably going to be the cue for Shin to go.
Okay, so the 4th base is going to be planted right out here in the middle. And this is probably where it's Zerg's turn. Chitinous plating's almost done too. And this is kind of the moment. Well, first Zerg's going to have to deal with this. Oh, actually, I think he doesn't know about this. Might not matter. Zerg might just go and hit this anyways. Although, does Zerg even know about the 4th base? He's like kind of going in a weird direction here. Seems like he's hitting a harder location.
And in any case, Shin favoring that 3rd base positioning as the angle of attack. Adrenal done, so those Marines have to get out of there in a hurry. Now the Ultralists are charging in, but this is a very tough angle. I mean, the Sim City for ByuN is excellent. Biles will be able to take down one of the siege tanks there on the top right side, but you can really see what a bottleneck this is. The Roaches and Ravagers all cut up there on the right side. On the Ultras, on the left, are finally able to break through, but Shin just couldn't get on top of the Terran army because of ByuN Sim City.
I don't know why he went there. It was like he had to, you know, at the start of a game, it's like you choose your difficulty like level, and then like the normal would have been the 4th base, and then like extreme mode is that. Like the tank wraparound was so good. I don't know why he did that all. Now, I'm not saying Shin's going to lose, but I think hitting the planetary in this base over here is way better. Wait, is it an orbital at the 3rd base, or is it a planetary?
I think it
should be an orbital,
yeah,
right?
It's an orbital at the 3rd, a planetary at the
unless
4th.
he like swaps that off, which wouldn't make any sense. So, okay, well, he's going to attack it again. Supplies are looking pretty daunting here for Terran. I mean, Zerg's maxed out, but 177 is a pretty decent amount of units to have in this game.
Well, ByuN's already weathered the most difficult part of this game, which was deflecting the first big attack of Shin. Doesn't mean Shin doesn't have winning chances. He's going to get all the way into the main base right now with these Lings. Right into the natural expansion at least. Adrenal Lings, here in the natural, taking down SCVs, going for the upgrades. If they can take the engineering base out, that would be huge.
Yeah, getting that armor would be massive. I see no repairs here. Denied.
That's a big win for Shin.
Shin needs to hit a couple more times here. And again, dislodge a base. push the Terran back. Now, I think getting rid of armor is massive. You're going to have a lot less sustain against everything that Shin has. But it's going to come down to this base that we're looking at. Okay, and here's where the big gas dump goes. The Banelings are meant to really crack the position open. Terran can no longer kite and use this. Ooh, what escape. Talk about finishing it just in the nick of time there.
Only one infestor for Shin, so not the potential for a lot of fungals. The next main engagement, ByuN going to deny another expansion down. 6-spot position, and now Shin charging in right now. 5 Ultras leading the way on the top side. This Bio's already stimmed a ton. Armor Shredding Missile actually connecting with some of the Zerg units right now. And the starter set micro from ByuN is excellent. Back into the Sim City. I look at these depots, just built to be a little bit of a logjam, just make things a little bit more claustrophobic for those Ultras. ByuN has been so good with his Sim City here in this game number 1. It is not easy for Shin to actually charge into either the 3rd or 4th base.
Okay. I mean, this is Shin looking very scary. ByuN still has a footing here. But so many Banes are out. The 5th base is going to be taken. We need to watch how the Banes connect.
A lot of this is going to come down to the Banelings. Although, ByuN's already hedged his bets a little bit by being such a Marauder-heavy composition. I mean, look, there's 1 Marine with this entire drop. There's 28 Marauders to 17 Marines on the map.
You could just, like, make mutas and kill this whole army.
Yeah. I mean, ByuN's army, it's designed to just absolutely pulverize Ultralisks and Roaches, which have been the main units that Shin has been building. Of course, now it's Ultraling Bane, but the Ultras are really the main threat here for ByuN. And so ByuN has been focused on this even before adding in Ghosts. We still have no Ghosts on the field just yet.
We have the Planetary done at 12 o'clock, too. So I don't know if you can get in there. You know, Shin's style like this was on full display in the semis of last season, again, just a few days ago. And Terran seemed to be pretty aware of what the game plan is. This is unfortunate. This does feel a little bit too late, so there's going to be some freed up supply for Shin. Shin, though, you know, Terran is just going to kind of hunker down here. Now, we can go into a game that's kind of like all the TVPs we cast, where the Terran, you know, sits back and maybe the Zerg actually, you know, maybe the Zerg plays like a Protoss state and just takes the whole map. Kind of a swarmy Zerg style of play. How novel. But, you know, ByuN hasn't made his move yet. I think ByuN's kind of waiting for the attack to come in so the counterpunch can come back out. But right now, Shin's kind of freezing him out. Not really doing a whole lot. Kind of playing single player. And I don't really know where the game goes from here. I do know that Shin is banking and ByuN is banking a lot of gas. Shin's minerals banked up is comical. It's like 5.6.
Yeah, the bank is absolutely huge here for Shin. I think that ByuN would be pretty close on the bank, but he's been building so many macro command centers so that he can eventually sacrifice some of his SCVs and get a more effective army supply. 6 command centers are finishing up right now, so that's a heavy investment by ByuN.
Yeah.
And at this stage, honestly, ByuN just needs to take 1 more expansion, and if he can hold on to it, he's going to be in a pretty good position because, yes, Shin does have this big bank, but ByuN, he's adding in Ghosts. He's got a lot more upgrades coming in. He's already started the vehicle weapons. Vehicle weapons level 2 is about to finish up. And if he can start the transition into more of a Ghost mech composition, that's really going to complicate matters for Shin. Then it's going to be a lot more about spell casting prowess as opposed to just having a good bank or just having a powerful army.
By the way, we're almost out of map. I'll talk about more of that in a second because the attack's going to come in here now. And again, if you look at this gauntlet that you have to work your way through, the Banelings are going to go ahead and hit the Planetary, but you just swap in the backup. You literally have command centers lined up, ready to just fill in the gaps. He does decent damage. Both sides will try to refill their supplies in. A squadron of Marines and Marauders and Medevacs are going to come down here and absolutely murder everything that's in this position. There's a tank somewhere there for some reason.
The 3rd base of Shin. Yeah, tank and Ghost a little bit lost last few minutes here for ByuN, but it's understandable. The map has been so crazy with aggression. And the game's going to quiet down again a little bit, I think. You know, for ByuN, the real difficulty in approaching the game right now is that the 5th base is much more challenging to take than any of the 4 bases. You know, he's really nestled himself nicely up in this top right corner with the SimCity, especially with these orbitals now being added in, that create a logjam if Zerg were to attack in. But if ByuN were to expand to the top left base, which already is largely mined out, actually hold that thought, as Shin's going to be charging in once more towards the 3rd and 4th location. And that's a lot of overseers, but on the ground, I don't really see that much for Shin. Oh, Fumble connecting as well as Banelings. Okay, that's a lot of ghosts going down.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the supplies here. 124, so that was like the bulk of everything that Terran had. I think Shin can have the closer here. I mean, the supplies right now are hilarious. I mean, there's 6 Ultras and 20 Links. So what he needs to do now is hit 12. And I think Terran will be suffocated out of the game.
And Shin's economy is just absolutely huge. ByuN was never able to secure that 6th base.
You know, it's funny, when I was watching this, I thought maybe Shin waited too long, and like, apparently not. Apparently he just, you know, let Terran Tech into this and said, okay, I'm gonna hit you now. And that next target's gonna be hit. And the problem for Terran is, like, Terran may catch up close to maxing out before this hits, but how much is gonna be traded out then? And you know, how many minerals are even at the 3rd base? I'm not even sure, but this game's 18 minutes. Oh God, it's so many Banes.
50 Banelings transforming right now, as well as Broods. Shin's basically going for a supermax army. I mean, he's already maxed out on 200 supply, but then when you invest thousands more resources into just transforming Banes, this is like a get out of my game kind of move. Let's see if it's gonna work.
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna be pretty painful. Again, he's gonna try to push through here. I guess if he breaks this, he can break 12 too. The tanks are just not gonna be enough, and even though the Ultras have a hard time fitting through, every single tank is going to be hit. The Banelings, it's an inevitability they're going to hit over here. Maybe not, actually.
Wow.
Kind of squeezing through that corner. Now, the Broodlords are still out here.
I mean, the SimCity is just so good for ByuN. It's giving him a lifeline here versus Shin.
What's at 12 o'clock? Why is he not going there?
Oh, you mean the expansion for ByuN? I feel like Shin just didn't want to attack past all those orbitals. I mean, it's a lot more choky than it might look on the minimap.
Nah, that's true. That is true. Well, Shin's gas is basically 0 now. The biggest power spike he had, by the way, he's taking more gases on the map. This is something I think we're seeing Zergs not do quick enough, by the way. You don't need to take all the gases right away because that's way too many drones on gas, but you should, as you do this remaxing, have the gases sooner so that you can basically dump more gas into more important units. Because it's the same thing that happens for Protoss when they max out and take the whole map, is it's like, well, you only have minerals. So you only have Zealots. If Zerg only has minerals, they only have Zerglings. And Zerglings are fine. In fact, they're necessary. But they're not everything. They can never be everything. So from here, we're going to see ByuN try to weather the next storm. And he already did the first, I think, with a much with a much more sophisticated army. And now we're going to see this base get hit. I think he shouldn't go there at all. I think that's the right call to turn around, hightail out of there.
Yeah, and ByuN's really moved forward with a lot of his static defense, in particular the siege tanks just getting entrenched because he knows that this is the most vulnerable position ByuN has to hold on to here right now.
By the way, center right, Zerg's taking. That's going to be important because if ByuN stays in this game, ByuN has to take the center right. That's actually the last base he's going to be able to take this game. Because this one's almost mined out.
And Shin's actually taken it twice. There's 2 victories more in there for some reason.
One of those is the orbital, the other one's the planetary.
All right,
here we go.
Attacking into the 5th base now. There is a planetary all the way in on the front line. Look at that. On the minimap, I honestly just thought this was going to be another orbital.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a smart move. ByuN is basically playing a tower defense game right now, just trying to survive the onslaught of Zerg.
He should send the Broodlords up here and try to clear that out.
The issue that I'm seeing for ByuN is that even the most healthy bases, the 4th and the 5th expansion for ByuN, are mostly mined out of minerals. There's only 4 patches remaining at each of them. You can play this kind of exhaust style as Terran and have the Zerg consume more of the map than you, but you eventually do need to secure a 6th base. And as you said, I think it's likely going to be the one at the 3 o'clock position. That's the easier one to take. It's the easier one to defend. And it's also the freshest base remaining on the map. But already, we see right there, there's not a lot of minerals left. Even those 4, I think, are starting to dissipate. And now Shin going to charge in once more. This planetary finally getting busted down. Orbital going to lift to allow the Marines the rest of the bios actually retreat past these siege tanks, and it's another very cost-efficient trade here for ByuN.
There's like nothing here. We never actually looked at this base. The base is like empty.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's worth it to do. There was more spent in units lost for Zerg than there were minerals that Terran could then take in there. In fact, I almost think he shouldn't be attacking right now. I didn't appreciate how down Terran was in minerals. Now let's see, the counter push is gonna come. Now, by the way, Terran is like starving to death for resources. So like, this counterattack could be in some ways fatal just because Zerg has gotta be almost mined out here too. This bottom right base is not, but I think everything else should be, right?
Yeah, I think it's 8 mineral patches in total for Terran right now.
That's so funny because I totally did not appreciate how much the mules had sucked out of that base. So, again, ByuN's very low. Very, very low in supply, even lower in minerals. But Zerg doesn't really have gas.
Okay, so there's about 800 minerals remaining in that base.
Yeah.
Maybe 1,000 at 12 o'clock? Perhaps a little bit more. You need a Sith expansion. You gotta realize this. He's gonna be rotating, I imagine, multiple orbitals to try and create a logjam by that 3 o'clock position.
Okay, he's gonna just ooze this down. I don't even know about, well, let's see. He's gonna take this out. I mean, that's something, right? But the orbital just pops over there. What I'm more interested is the base at 3 o'clock. This base right here.
If ByuN can take this game, or take this base, excuse me, I think he can possibly take the game.
Yeah, and the thing is, ByuN has a very sophisticated army. Obviously, masslings are still scary. They're hard to kite, right? He's going to make Banes. This Ultros is entombed in the Baneling eggs.
Shin once more attacking the 12 o'clock position. By the way, ByuN, he made a command center, did not turn it into an orbital, and flew it down to the 3 o'clock position to add in one more planetary fortress and just try and make it even more difficult for Shin to actually break through.
You need to get this Ultros out of there.
Look at that planetary morphing in. I mean, the defensive planetary additions here for ByuN, both at 12 o'clock and down here at the 3 o'clock, is just excellent.
The Hellbats play is very, very much like, I know exactly what my win conditions are. I need to survive Zerglings. There's a, I'm sorry, it was just on screen. How many Banes are there?
Oh, I didn't quite catch it. 117 have been lost. There's 23 on the field right now.
I was like, what? He's going to come in here. He's going to clear this out. The Hellbats are actually not well placed, so they don't really serve the role. You kind of want to wedge them up here.
And looking at the minimap right now, just doing a cursory glance of Shin's expansions, it seems like most of them are also down to about 4 mineral patches apiece, even the base in the top left and the bottom right. And luckily for Shin, he has enough of the map that this is going to prove to still be a sizable income right now. You can see he's at around 2,600 minerals a minute. But eventually these two will start to run out. And ByuN has the most fresh base on the map by far at 3 o'clock. I really think the win condition for Shin was denying this expansion. And now that ByuN has stabilized and entrenched himself over at 3 o'clock, I'm not sure if Shin's actually going to be able to break him anymore.
Yeah. You know, when Terran has even one base, you know, sometimes you look at one base and think, okay, there's only so many resources you can take from that. But, you know, Terran with a lot of orbitals, they just fire mules down on that and just take everything out so fast. Ooh, he's going to snipe the Overlords.
Wow, snipe the Overlord holding an Ultralisk.
Yeah, that's
a big
insane.
snipe. All right, Shin attacking in with, honestly, not that much. It might be enough aliens to take on the Planetary Fortress, but I think the base will stand.
Well, hold on. There's not really... Oh, actually, there's much more up there than I thought. But the thing is, can the Corruptors take this out, maybe?
It's trying to land, but...
Okay, he pops it.
I mean, there's so many more command centers where that came from, right?
I know, but even to slow down the income for a minute, like, look, he's at 36 minerals, and that has flatlined.
Yeah,
Terran's scary because what Terran has is a better army. Zerg has, by the way, now actually a lot of gas since this, you know, time has passed. Terran's going to do a counterattack, which I think Zerg's going to have to just, you know, take on the chin.
16 broods. This almost, I mean, we're at 26 minutes, so using this term, it sounds ridiculous, but this almost feels like an all-in move here for Shin.
No, I think this is an all-in move.
He needs to win with the broods.
You can all-in this late in the game. I think people think that's an early game only thing, but absolutely you can all-in.
There just isn't enough gas income, I think. to really accompany this with that much more, the Broods are going to be the central piece for Shin moving forward in this map. He's already lost the bottom right base. Most of these Vespene geysers that you see on the minimap have actually already depleted. And so for Shin, can 16 Broods make it work?
By the way, Terran has, actually just slightly more supply in army, which means basically Terran has almost no workers and is using mules, which is normal. That's what Terran should be doing at this phase of the game. When you see Broodlords, sometimes the play is to just not engage them and to go around, which means Terran would give up an income, but maybe poke out the rest of the remaining bases here. I don't believe that ByuN was ready for this. This may be blindsiding him, and the Broodlords are just annihilating everything.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, just, I don't see how this base stays alive. There's no real anti-air. There's not enough infantry to actually fight underneath this. Are there any corruptors to fight? Oh, yeah, you can just hit that with that. Oh, they don't even have anything to hit that with. That's so funny. All right, so he's going to come in here with the Banes. I think Shin just won the game.
Blinding Cloud, forcing everything away, and the last mining base for ByuN is taken out. Broodlords continuing to push through. A big remax of Zerglings here for Shin. And unless ByuN can get snipes in somehow on these Broodlords, I think there's enough momentum here for Shin. ByuN's army, it's not going to get better than what you see right now. There are 4 more Ghosts in production, and that's it.
Yeah, this is looking pretty dire. I think ByuN is basically dead. By the way, Shin having some of the best endgame ZVT ever. Like, he's, GG, I think he's kind of, in my mind, replacing, Rogue out here in Korea as kind of the guy that just knows exactly how to play every beat of the longest ZVT imaginable. And by the way, ByuN played a great game there. But you can see, you can really see that, like, Shin just sort of knows when to go hard and then when to stop entirely.
Yeah, that was a marathon of a TVZ to start out this series, and you got to think that it's going to be testing the endurance of both of these players as we get ready to move on to Taito Citadel for map number 2. And I was worried for a long time there for Shin, despite the fact that he was up on bases. We occasionally got looks at the units lost tab, and ByuN was just so much more cost efficient that you got to question whether Shin having the majority of the map was even going to matter. But at the end, finally being able to push ByuN off of the last remaining base, the 3 o'clock expansion, which was really just the epicenter of all of his income. I don't think there was a single mineral patch left on the map for ByuN besides that 3 o'clock base.
Yeah.
And that was just the perfect move by Shin, and it cost him everything. Every last gas was spent on that Broodlord transition. Shin could not do that again. And the TVZ went all the way down to the wire after 30 minutes. Are we going to get another exhaust play TVZ like that here in map number 2?
I don't know. You can see, by the way, ByuN, these are wrist stretches he's doing. Whenever, and I feel like I almost only do this for ByuN, but he's probably the most known player with, some level of injury. But, those long games are taxing on your body. They're taxing on your mind. I don't know, maybe he'll like to do a fast game or do some kind of cheese. Shin could certainly do the same.
All right, map number 2. Taito Citadel is loaded in. ByuN spawning in the top left is the blue Terran. Shin in the bottom right is the red Zerg, leading this series up 1-0. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Chase. I'm wondering whether we're going to have a little bit of a mix-up in terms of game plan because, in particular for ByuN, I mean, this is the sad reality is that his wrists, they often are the weakest point for him as a player. You could tell, especially in more compressed seasonal formats, or if there's a really long day, how it starts to affect his play and the quality, and particularly of his micro, which, when he is healthy, is among the best, if not the best, in the world. After a 30-minute TVZ like that one in game number 1, do you go for something a little bit more aggressive in game number 2? I can see right now that ByuN is going command center first, but that doesn't necessarily mean that ByuN wants to play a long macro game. In fact, some of the most effective timing attacks in TVZ in general begin with the command center first because it brings your timings online so much faster, so much stronger. If you're playing for something like a 5 racks or something like an 8 racks, there's a lot more power behind it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that early greed can lead to the sharpest power spikes ever. Where Zerg can just get smashed. We did see Shin go for some proxy hatches, but, I think that's kind of map and player dependent. I also just think, so are all the maps, by the way, for this season the same?
Yeah, I think it's the
I believe
exact
it's the exact same map.
Season 1.
So I always, in my mind, think that, proxy hatches will, the longer that you have the same maps in a season, the less likely they are to be reappearing, unless one player really thinks he's totally dead against this guy, unless he does something like that. I also, and I could be wrong, I could be like kind of, you know, trying to like be in these guys' heads a little bit too much, but I also suspect that Shin thinks Cure is a stronger Terran and might have more specified, tailored builds that might be strong that he doesn't want to use against ByuN. I think we've seen Shin in one of the biggest pro gamer growth spurts ever, right? I mean, this guy got 1 GSL finals a long time ago, and that was like a Cinderella story, by the way. Like, that was crazy that he did that. And then he got totally murdered. He got his face ripped off 4-0 in the finals. And then he kind of went back to being like around where we expect. And by the way, I'm not making fun of him. I'm not knocking on him. But, like, you know, if you watch a lot of StarCraft 2 professionally, you certainly know kind of where some players rank, and that's why upsets are exciting. Or, you know, it's really something to admire when you see a guy who's just been so consistently good. Then, years later, Shin comes back. He 3-2s Morrow in one of the best TVZs I've ever cast. And, you know, he does it not with gimmicks, not with, like, a new kind of tech. It was just, like, the best late-game ZVT ever. You know, I mean, up there with the GOATs like Cyril, or like we've seen Rogue before. And I think that the kind of Shin that we're looking at now is one that has really mapped out a tournament and not just an opponent or a group or a best of 5 or a best of 7. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's really gotten a lot better, especially over the course of 2025 and 2026 in GSL. And that's saying a lot because Shin has been one of the best Zerg players in the world for a long time. But talking about builds a little bit here, Tasteless, Shin going for a 2-hatch lair and then taking the third base, but he's taking the third base after taking every single Vespene Geyser. I am so perplexed about what this might actually be coming in from Shin, and it's critical that he denies the scout, even though ByuN seeing 2 additional gases getting taken here in the natural expansion is a bit of a tell.
Oh, is this gonna kill or not? Okay. That could have been a lot. That could have been bad news, is what I'm trying to say.
Could this be a Spire play here for Shin?
Well, it's got to be something gas heavy, right? Unless it's like, yeah, I was gonna say, unless it's like so advanced, it's like, oh, I don't even use those. I sacrificed two drones just to make you think I'm teching.
Fast Spire for Shin. Now, we did have a Rogue game. I can't remember if it was GSL or RSL that happened in recently, where Rogue played, it might have even been on Taito Citadel, a ZVT, where basically his entire army value was in Mutalisks. It was a 2-hatch lair build, very similar to this one, and most of the resources that he made, it went directly into Muta. It wasn't a lot of Ling, Baneling accompaniment, even though we typically see them. I feel like this game might potentially go the same way, especially if Shin in a minute or so takes the extra Vespene Geysers here at the third base. Now, he is, of course, crossing his T's and dotting his I's. He's getting all the upgrades. He's getting the Baneling Nest as well, so that he has these units available. But, I mean, the gas just come online so quickly here for Zerg. I'm really scratching my head about how Muta-heavy this might potentially be.
Yeah, so this is a totally different game here from Shin. Now, Banshees, I don't know if I'd say they're good or bad versus this. The thing is, you need to see, can they get the kills? If an Overseer can track onto this, the Mutas are going to kill it, and you're going to have a pretty weak Terran. But, you know, whenever you see Banshees, it's like when you see, you know, are Hellion run-ins good? I'm like, well, it depends on whether or not they kill drones. Same thing with the Banshees. Like, do these actually get much done? Now, he might suspect this is Mutas because he saw the 2 gases at the expansion, which would probably, you know, telegraph some kind of tech, and I think Muta's the most obvious tech for that.
Yeah, meanwhile, on ByuN's side of the map, I'm actually not seeing a third command center looking at the minimap just yet. I was more focused on Shin's build in the early game, but I think ByuN is ramping up to try and do some 2-base aggression. And this usually, oh, there is a third. It's okay, it's in the wall end. So I was getting a little bit deterministic about what ByuN might have to do if he was trying to play a 2-base style versus what Shin is going for. But adding in the third command center, defense is also very much a possibility for ByuN to just try and play another slow game, another exhaust play. You don't have to necessarily end the game versus a Mutalisk player, although the threat of the base trade, it's constant, it's real, it is a threat. ByuN could take this game wherever he wants to from here, I think.
So he's going to come in here and hit these Banshees. These Banshees are never going back home. And, you know, 7 drones down, probably not good enough, right? The Lynx, by the way, get a great surround. Oh, God, we're going to get the Marines, too. 1-1 is going to finish. I was going to say, these mutas, oh, that sucks. Getting 1 picked off like that is pretty bad. You know, it's funny, mutas, you really don't want to lose even a couple of them because it's important to get that power spike, get the muta balls out. And you know, one of the strengths that mutalisks have is if they're not targeted directly, damage tends to distribute pretty evenly, and they're pretty tanky units. Now, the 4th base is going to be hit, but this is like one fight where both sides are just hitting each other. No, never mind. The mutas are going back. What is happening to Shin here? He seems to be like actually kind of fraying at the seams.
Yeah, this counterattack by ByuN is getting some really good damage done. It will almost certainly cancel the 4th hatchery, but, you know, the creep spread is good enough. I don't think you can really push into the natural expansion or the 3rd base just yet here. As ByuN, look at the production tab, no 4th command center. I think this might just be an 8-racks type play, where ByuN is trying to end the game with the initial setup of these 3 command centers that he's got right now. And ByuN's even done the very smart move of adding in a 2nd factory because he knows that Shin is going to be relying very heavily on Ling Banelings to accompany these mutas to help make them effective, to deal with the counter Marines before it snowballs out of control. And adding in just a couple of Hellbats, or more likely, you know, double factory Widow Mine could be absolutely huge here for ByuN in a little bit once he starts up the production. Now, Shin, he is re-expanding, taking the bottom left base. The gold expansion here is his 4th. But the threat of ByuN attacking in is real. We have more Marines than Zerglings on the map by a long sight right now. So unless those 16 Banes are able to get good connections versus what ByuN has got, I mean, in a head-to-head battle off creep, ByuN wins 100 times out of 100. I'm just not sure he can actually push into Shin right at this moment.
Okay, this is kind of bad for Shin. You know, losing that 4th base is probably the most simple way to be knocked off the horse here. Oh man, he loses another muta there. He's going to do that double expand. The Ling counterattack's pretty good. We need enough muta Ling Bane here to really fight. And right now, okay, hold on. The Widow Mines are going to go down here. Can they target the mutas?
Good shot on the Lings, at the very least there for ByuN. And this is an interesting pivot that ByuN is making. He's not actually going into double factory Widow Mine, as I suspected. He's instead mixing in Thors really much earlier than I would have imagined against a Mutaflock, which is still quite tame. It's only 17 mutas on the map right now, although more are finishing all the time.
Okay, he takes the turret out. Marines come back up. And, I mean, he's taking whatever swipes he can. The Thor's going to be thrown up into the middle here. And, I don't know. You know, this is a different tech. This is an older way to play. Now, old is not bad, by the way. But I do feel like we're really seeing ByuN make real strides here in his progress in the game. Overlord's going to be picked off. This is going to supply block Shin, so we can't make more Banes. And, you know, with the bottom left base gone, like, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like we're seeing Shin kind of fall apart here. This is one of the most straightforward TVZs ever. I feel like I'm casting a TVZ from years past.
Yeah, Shin struggling to take a 4th expansion is so painful right now. At last, he has a 4th base online. Mineral's just saturated at the 10-minute, 30-second mark, but the 10 minutes and 30 seconds of Zerg and Terran effectively being even on bases is heavily Terran favored, and to add insult to injury, I feel like the lack of creep spread now, which is in no part Shin's fault. It's more ByuN just succeeding at controlling the middle stage of this game. It's going to be a challenge for Shin to get any sort of meaningful Baneling connections on this army because there's basically no creep.
Okay, the Banes are many, but the spread for Terran is good. The counterattack, there's going to be nothing to defend this because the supplies are completely maxed. But this is going to be the 4th base going down. This is going to get pretty tight. These Banes have to do a lot of damage here. The Thor is going to be skipped by the Banes, rightfully so. The Muta's going to dive on that. Great attack in here from Shin. I mean, that was perfect. Meanwhile, oh my God, the counterattack has done so much.
I can't believe that Baneling has got connections like that off of creep.
It's like the Mutas and the Banes had to go past each other to hit the right targets.
But it worked out.
Yeah,
it worked
it
out perfectly there for Shin, and now this counterattack just looks brilliant. The entire natural expansion of ByuN is not mining. The third base was significantly disrupted. You can see the damage the SCV's done. A lot of them are in the red and orange right now. Oh man, if Shin can get +3 infantry weapons, that would be the cherry on top of the cake. He's gonna get it. +3 is denied, and now the Mutas, they're running rampant in the main base.
I mean, this is really starting to pile up. The problem is Zerg, you know, they need to get more Bane. Oh.
You were saying tasteless.
Never mind. That's not the problem. The problem for ByuN now is that there's enough Banes here. I think he could hit hard with another attack. So there's 4 bases for Terran. Honestly, I think ByuN can still win this. But you know, Shin's had his moments. I think Shin had a much harder mid-game here. And he's done a very good job, but I don't know if Zerg needs to have like enough bases and enough income where you can pour units into kind of strong arming fights over time.
I mean, the 4th base was denied twice. It got up at, what, 10 minutes and 30 seconds. The Mutants struggled to find a lot of damage. ByuN completely controlled the creep spread. All of these point towards ByuN having a pretty easy victory at this stage in the game, but Shin's actual fights have been so good. He is so good at taking just the optimal engagement that things are, if not even, favored for Shin right now. He's taking the 5th base, he's up to 90 workers, +3 infantry weapons, still has not been restarted by ByuN. The Hive Tech is now coming in. I mean, Shin is looking so good in this series. I am unbelievably impressed with how he has been able to turn what was not a good early game and not a good mid game into a position like this one.
The question is going to be, how does Shin win a fight and swing it? ByuN's on 4 bases. This base has been a pipe dream this entire game. He's just not able to get it up. You know, Zerg's really forced into a very kind of standard position here. I mean, had you gotten the gold, it would have been great. He's basically spending more and more on Banes. Now, by the way, armies like this are where the Banes should hit because there's no medevacs there. Although right now, ByuN not really able to use the medevacs to pick up against Banelings either.
Good engagement by ByuN on the top side, and we have so many Banelings about to roll into this bio ball. As Taysa said, no medevacs to be found.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't understand why he has no medevacs with this. I guess he just doesn't have a lot of medevacs in general, but you normally want the medevacs to be with the army that's on the map. I guess Mutas can also catch this and kill this.
I think the Mutas have just killed so many medevacs over the course of this game that it's a struggle for ByuN. He's got to kind of triage or at least prioritize where he wants the medevacs to be at any given moment. There are only 5 on the map. And Shin potentially catching another 2 right now.
Oh, one more Muta shot.
I mean, the boost's going to run out, so ByuN's going to drop, and the medevac will be going down.
Okay, I mean, again, it's Terran barely on 4 bases. We're at 15 minutes. The resources are going to be mining out. The command center, by the way, barely goes down.
Shin is playing out of his mind in this game.
It's crazy to see Shin, like this Shin that we're looking at now.
I mean, the early and mid game, they felt so bad. The lack of creep spread, the 4th base getting denied 2 or 3 times in a row, the late expansions.
I actually thought that when the 4th base was killed, we were probably going to be watching like a pretty scuffed counterattack, and that ByuN would just win. Now, by the way, ByuN's been pretty good at conserving his Banes. He's really like done a good job with like fighting with some Banes in Mutaling when he can. I think a lot of bad Zerg players will kind of throw Banes at anything, and that means he still has, you know, he's basically sitting on the golden gun here when it comes to the fight.
Oh, this is so smart from Shin, too. ByuN has so many reactors on his barracks right now that it's pretty awkward for ByuN to actually make a transition into Marauders. And ByuN going into the main, or Shin going into the main base, snipes 2 more tech labs as he is starting his Ultralist transition, just making things even more challenging here for ByuN.
Okay, he's kicked the Hornet's Nest. All the Banes are going to come in here from every single angle. Oh my god, I don't know. ByuN. Again, I love that Shin's like running away with the Banes when it's just Thors and Marauders. Banelings are your precious resource.
7 Ultras get started after that engagement.
And the Ultras are basically the crowbar, that pries open the position. Because when you have planetaries and Rain Marauder, you kind of like, you stim, you hit, then you eventually retreat behind the planetary. The SCVs repair the planetary, and usually it's just like not a good trade. 5th base taken out, by the way. That would matter more if there was actually SCVs there. Okay, so he wants to draw some of the army back. I would assume this is going to pair with an attack up to the front.
Yeah, Shin might actually just trade out these mutas. In fact, it seems like that's what he's going to do.
He's like, oh no, I have to kill these SCVs so badly. Goes and makes some more ultras.
Well, the muta stage of this game is mostly over. There's about half a dozen now. The top left of ByuN's main expansion. That's going to be the cue for the Ultras to start rolling in. We have 14 Marauders, 35 Marines in total, but there are a lot of Thors. This almost looks like a box art army coming in by Shin and ByuN. So many of these high-tech units. And if Shin takes these engagements into very small choke points with the Ultras, the Thors actually will make quick work of them. But the issue for ByuN is that the reinforcements coming in by Shin, there are just too many. That's it. GG is called. Shin with a sledgehammer of Ultras, able to break open the 4th base, push into the 3rd, and he's going to be advancing to the winner's match versus Cure.
Yeah, I mean, let me turn the cam off before we're even done. ByuN just totally shut down there in the end. Shin just showing this real understanding of how to navigate all of the TVZ. That was a really tough mid-game. But he knew, what units do I need now? How do I use my banelings efficiently? Don't throw them away. Don't bleed them off. Beautifully done.
It's kind of shocking just watching these games play out because conventional wisdom just tells you that Shin should be losing these games. And it's not just today. It's also, you know, in the round of 4 and the round of 8. Shin plays these games where things look very rough, but he's still somehow able to just finagle a victory out of these situations, which doesn't make sense. I mean, the fights by Shin have been so good in GSL Season 1 and now here in GSL Season 2. He just understands taking engagements perfectly.
We're going to go to a break. When we come back, the winner's match here for our first day of the GSL Season 2.
that you're longing for a little change, a bit of something different in a different place, somewhere the grass is greener. Call it a spiritual healer. I hear you, darling, I feel ya. Me and you, there's nothing we can't do together. Come on, let's go fly away.
GSL Season 2.
Welcome back, everybody. Quite the set of games we've had so far. It might be 2-2-0s, but man, have they been long, crazy end games. All of them, actually.
Yeah, Kira going for the exhaust play versus SOS, working it to perfection with defensive macro TVP, and then ByuN kind of going for the same attempt versus Shin, especially in that map number 1, but Shin's just been looking so good, in particular at ZBT lately. He might be the best ZBT player that we have here in Korea. Now he's going to be going up versus Cure in the winners match.
Yeah, this is going to be a great match. This was a match I wanted to see, but didn't think we were going to get in the finals day. I wasn't sure who was going to win with Cure and Hero, but it's funny. I thought Mara was going to win against Shin. I don't think I'm alone on that. I think everybody kind of suspected it. It's why it made for such a great finals. But Cure is really strong. Now, the fact that Shin he didn't smash. He beat Maro 3-2. He just beat ByuN, and ByuN put up a good fight as well. Can Cure do it? Because Cure is always vying for that top spot. He's always top 2 Terran in Korea. This should be a great ZVT. We already have a lot of data on Shin and how he likes to play. What kind of game is Cure going to give us?
Yeah, Shin's basically running the gauntlet over the last few days of all of the best Korean Terran players. He took down Maru in the semifinals of the GSL a couple of days ago, and then he took down ByuN. Now he's going for Cure, the trifecta here. Can Shin to make it a clean sweep and be the first player to advance from the round of 12 into the round of 8. Game 1 loading in on Winter Madness. Let's go.
All right, Cure here in the bottom right. Shin in the top left. And, I want to see, will we have any proxy hatcheries here? Any weirdness? Is Cure going to rely on what seems to be almost untouchable late game ZVT here? The Ultralisk tech, on 4 to 5 hatches, the chitinous plating bust. Shin did bring 2 extremely different brands of ZVT. We have, I guess what now is almost off-brand, although it used to be kind of the mainline opening, which is Ling, Mutabane. But what is more common with both, the likes of Shin or Rogue, is to go for Roach Ravager, kind of power up into Infestor, Ultra, and try to break them that way. By the way, if you had covered the IDs up today and showed me who's doing what, I would have thought this was ByuN. So.
Yeah, this is the Wallen that ByuN popularized a couple years ago in the GSL Code S. Usually culminates in Terran going for, I want to say 3 or 4 Reapers has become fairly standard, although back in the day when ByuN was doing this for the very first time, we would sometimes see up to 5 or 6. As we really have a different couple of objectives that you can accomplish with the different Reaper counts. 2 or 3, they pair it very well with Hellions as the mid game. Of course, those Hellions, because you spend less gas on the Reapers, they come online a little bit more quickly than you would expect them to. And so, get some good economic damage done that way, keep creep spread under control. But once you get up to 4, 5, or maybe even 6 Reapers in total, suddenly it becomes very complicated for the Zerg player to actually take a 3rd base with any kind of speed, because at that point, the Reapers, they're a real threat to the health of the hatchery, and especially on a map like Winter Madness, it's a bit tough to get the Queens to actually walk all the way down to the 3rd base to defend it. So let's keep our eye on exactly how many Reapers Cure is going to go for here in game number 1.
Okay, the Reaper's going to come up. We're going to have that dance we've had so many times before. It's all going to be about the Reaper pressure. We're going to see when the Reapers actually stop. I think they might be stopping shortly here. We only have 1 being made. There's different variations on how many Reapers you can get and what you can do with those Reapers, but in modern play, it's much more common to kind of wind down the Reapers earlier. And we got 8 Lings coming back here. Now, the Zerg did get the 3rd hatchery thrown down. It seems like, Cure went for more pressure instead of trying to, deny the drone from getting that 3rd hatchery. 8 more Lings are coming here. Can't really do anything against Reapers until you have Ling speed. And, you know, at this point in time, Terrence knows, like, the exact second that the Ling speed is going to finish.
Yeah, and Kira, I think, has not spotted the third hatchery down here in the central location. I believe he checked the triangle expansion, but I think he's still in the dark, even with the Reapers retreating across the map right now, about this hatchery here. And so Kira might be thinking that he's playing with a third command center underway, whereas Shin is safely contained on 2 bases, but that is not, in fact, the case. Shin is macroing up to that third expansion, potentially going for a counterattack as well with these Zerglings, although Kira already has a nice hold at the natural with this wall in.
Yeah, Kira looking very, very healthy here. You know, just a game where you're going to power up, you kind of get here in a different way. The Reapers can then pair with the Hellions, and you can kind of continue with the pressure. Although I think he only made 1 Hellion, is that correct?
Yeah, just 1 Hellion.
So this is, I think, a bit of a fake out here. You might expect, good job here taking this out, by the way, although we'll see the command center. I do feel like people should be maybe a little bit more secretive about the command center, where they place it. Anyways, I think when you see 1 Hellion, you might think there's more coming, but what he's doing instead is he's going to switch into the core army build, which is the Marines and the tanks. He's already getting stim here, and basically have a stronger push. Now, I'm not used to seeing this, but I guess with a Banshee, oh, I guess you could just do this instead. Okay, for some reason I thought you had to see up there to hit that. The Lings are going to come down here. They actually get a surround on that, but I think with Marines and Reapers, that's not going to be, Lings are not going to be enough to take that out. So he takes out the Overlords and backs up. I like Kira's opening so far. He's done a good job of basically teching, kind of doing the harass tech at a minimum, but then doing the powering tech, which is the Marines and Stim and everything else. Getting that pretty soon. He's going to land that 3rd CC. I mean, Kira's playing a really, really clean game.
Yeah, it's been an excellent early game here for Kira. I like his build order a lot. That's a healthy number of Marines to have on the field right now. And Kira's going to use them to very safely secure his 3rd expansion already as the orbital flies down from the main base into the 3rd. Double engineering base now getting started here by Kira, so upgrades will be begun in just a moment. And on Shin's side of things, it's just normal natural development. We don't have any big tech coming through. It's actually mostly a gasless build. It's just the 1 Vesping Geyser in the main base, 1 gas now being taken in the natural expansion. Shin focusing primarily on getting a healthy number of queens, getting up the 4th hatchery, getting a lot of Zerglings here onto the field with 16 more in production. A lot of drones, already 59 workers in total, now make that 62. And Shin is playing a very mineral-heavy early game ZVT.
Yeah, the first poke's going to come in here for Kira, taking an Overlord out, barely supply blocking the Zerg. The hatchery goes down. A pretty slick timing. Again, this is all because of the corner cutting that we saw early on. I mean, this Reaper is actually making a pretty big difference with the grenades versus the Lings. I mean, right when you think you'd have a surround, Kira's able to push through. I actually get a little bit worried here for Kira. I mean, Shin lost. I'm sorry, I meant getting worried here for Shin is what I meant to say. Kira actually took out a lot. Traded really nicely. He's probably going to come down here and scan again.
Yeah, Kira already able to deny the 4th expansion here in game number 1. And I think this is enough Lings that you're just going to pick up and try and get out of there right here as Kira. Oh! barely surviving. 38 HP left on that medevac.
I mean, when you consider that Terran lost virtually nothing there, and Zerg bled off a decent amount, you got to imagine the next attack that's going to come out is going to be pretty strong. Shin double expands.
Ooh.
Macro hatchery here as well, so he's basically going to try to fight from here.
Yeah, Shin adding in 3 hatcheries right now in this moment. This tells me that Shin just basically wants to pet play Lings and eventually probably Ling Baneling for a very long period of time. And that is the most larva-intensive army composition in the game. So he's going to need a lot of hatcheries to be done. And he also needs a little bit of time to get those hatcheries online. So he's going for a counterattack here. Unfortunately for Shin, Kira is well positioned where the reinforcements rally to the natural expansion wall in. Those Lings will instead have to look towards potentially setting up either a counterattack at the 3rd base of Kira or going for a surround. The aggressing force that Kira has between the 3rd and 4th bases of Shin.
Okay, Hydralis Den coming here too. And Kira's going to try to push in. If he can get this hatchery, it's going to be huge. There's a lot of Banes. This is actually might be harder than it looks. 1-1's going to be done, so there could not be a better moment to try to hit. Everything from Kira is just so in sync. He has to actually move now. In fact, I think he can just target the hatch down. Maybe not. He's going to try to sustain. Shin's gonna lose this game if he can't take this out. Oh my god, you know, Cure's, okay, he does it. I was gonna say, Cure's targeting was almost good enough that it just took out the Banes. He's down here again. Oh my god. And there's not any Banes. This is 2 different attacks on each of these bases. Remember the base that we just saw the fight happen at? He could easily come back over there. He's gonna pick up and go up into the main. The base at the top right could be hit again here.
I think it likely will be. We have more reinforcements streaming across the map right now for Cure, this time with an accompaniment of tanks. And Cure just keeps pivoting. Finally, there are Hydralisks on the field that will put a stop to the madness of this medevac going up and down on this 4th base for Shin.
This base is so low. Okay, it's going to be at half health again. There are no Banes, just Banes morphing. He's going to try to fish in the Hydras and the Queens.
Shin trying to break through this position. The Hydras and Queens doing a lot of the heavy lifting there on the back line. Siege tanks do get cleaned up, so Cure's going to have to evacuate from this position. You don't want to lose your medevacs here already. One of them falling.
Oh my god, this is still here.
It's only 6 Marines, but it might be enough. Hatchery down to 500 and some change HP.
Cure is so annoying in this game. And the push is going to come in. It's looking so robust. The Banes are done, though. More Banes are being morphed.
Banelings are done, but Cure is now adding in double factory Widowmine production, which is really going to help. And I think Shin realizes he has to forfeit this expansion here at the top center. Those Banelings, they are going to finish up, but there's too much distance between them and the Marines. They're going to retreat down to the 3rd expansion here for Shin.
The split pushing is god tier. I mean, he is just so good at what he's doing. He's going to dive in again. Going to try to target down the Banes. It's just Ling Hydra now. Ling Hydra is hard to fight. Bane, oh my god! Oh, actually nowhere near as good as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, most of the Widowmines, I think, got focused fire, but excellent Widowmine control there by Cure during that engagement. You could see that Shin would section off very small numbers of Lings and move command them past the Terran army, trying to get the Widowmine shots to detonate so the rest of his army could move in. And Cure, during that engagement, had the wherewithal to actually unburrow and then reburrow the Widowmine so that he didn't have any friendly fire, so that the shots were not wasted. Excellent control there by Cure as he continues to ramp up the pressure, now scanning and clearing the creep in the center of the map, setting up for an attack at the triangle expansion and this forward base in the center. Meanwhile, Shin expanding back to the top right. Keep in mind, Shin playing this very larva-intensive style. He needs these hatcheries, not just for the minerals, but also for the production.
Okay, he's going to drop it again. And we're going to see this hit pretty hard here. The Banes are going to come through. There's a Widowmine over here, and it's going to go onto the Hydras.
Pretty big hit. Takes out 1 Hydra, injures 3 more, and now Cure collapsing in again. Once more denies the base at 1 o'clock, and now pushing into the center.
I mean, Cure is just so insane. He's doing so much damage. He's just hitting so many locations. I mean, you can just see Shin's almost getting strangled out of this game. This is a maxed out Terran, hitting from 2 different angles. He might even want to actually just regroup and do a full-on push and just send it over here at this base on the far left.
Another good Widowmine connection, catching some more Lings. Hydras will be able to at least take out 1 medevac on the retreat, but the supplies really tell the tale right now. Cure, he's been powering up, he's been re-expanding, taking the 4th base now during all of this, churning out his upgrades as well. He keeps getting bigger economically back at home, and at the same time, he is doing so much damage to the engine of Shin. Another hatchery might get canceled here, just a little bit out of position. Cure trying to focus fire that down while setting up for an attack in the center. Cure is everywhere.
I mean, this is so taxing, the micro that's going on here. Once again, Shin's going to try to come in here. The Banes need to get the right connects. Maybe not the best control here by Cure. He kind of had some idle Marines there in the back, but he will pick off these Banes. That's going to be impactful later on.
Wasn't the best micro we've seen from Cure yet, but that trade, given the economic position of both players, it is cost-effective enough. As Cure continuing to churn out more and more reinforcements as they stream across the map. Shin, he's trying to pivot into a lurker den with high-tech upgrades coming through in just a couple of minutes. That is the long-term plan here for Shin to try and stabilize, but Cure is really levying a lot of pressure, trying to deny this base once more.
I mean, it's crazy that Shin's even been in the game for this long. Cure's been maxed out for minutes and is basically, I almost wonder if Cure might want to, like I said, regroup. Like, it does feel like, okay, but the Banes are and the Hydras are just enough that you can't actually hit either side anymore. Zerg's big enough, but he's going to keep going for it. Kira's going to come in again. A lot more gas is being dumped into these Banes. We do have the Lurker tech coming here eventually, although Shin's going to not have a lot of gas for Lurkers because he is forced to make Banes, because he is, you know, on the verge of being broken in these two positions that keep getting hit over and over and over. Queen's going down.
Kira getting some more damage done, trying to put a timer on this hatchery to force Shin to attack into him. Shin is going to go for the engagement, sees the line of Widow Mines behind this bio, has to disengage. And Shin now going for a counterattack. Shin behind all this somehow has worked his way to a maxed supply, and now he's trying to get damage done on Kira's side of the map for the first time in a long time. But Kira able to clean that up with the reinforcements, now pushing in once more to this expansion on the left side. Shin has done such a good job of keeping up with this pressure. As you said, I mean, Kira feels like he's been maxed for minutes, and now Shin really getting a swing of momentum in his favor, is able to clean up this army. All of the medevacs, I think, are on the top right side, and yeah, look at that, Kira, he peels back a ton of them. They go back home, recognizing the issue. There's 11 medevacs on the field, and they were all in the top right.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of insane that Shin's still here somehow, like despite everything that Kira's doing. If Shin can burst out and shut down one of these big pushes, I think Shin can explode on the map. Kira's on 5 bases, which is a lot for Terran. That's a lot. And maybe Kira split pushed for a little bit too long. It seemed like there was, you know, minutes going by where he seemed like he was going to win the game, like he was on the verge of it, to the point where, like, I take my jacket off when I cast, and when I think it's over, I always put it back on. My jacket's on right now. It's on right now. I don't cast well when I got the jacket on, but I thought, okay, I'm going to be sitting back down in the chair. I might be on camera again here. And Shin continuing to be this little explosive force in the corner. Liberators are now going to be incorporated into the push. Zerg with bigger oh my god, these mines!
Wow, those mines being picked up by Shin on the front line. So much of Kira's army is pivoting away from being a biocentric force and being much more tech heavy. And I feel like that is not really pairing well against what Shin is doing. Ooh, well, that was a really good Widow Mine shot.
Nice splat there. The SCVs are going to be pulled. He's going to go and just pop the planetary.
There's so many medevacs. And the Liberators, too. I mean, these parasitic bombs doing huge damage. But right now, Kira, he's on at least 2 factories and 3 starports. We have 11 Liberators with 5 more in production. There's almost double-digit medevacs. We're going to have more flying units for Terran in a moment than we're going to have bio.
So crazy.
Or at least close to it. I mean, this is kind of absurd.
It's so insane to see Zerg taking this center lower left base.
And it's also insane to me that Shin right now is taking the energy from the hatchery on the front line instead of one of the saber hatcheries. I mean, I understand that time's of the essence. You want these Vipers to be full on energy and not have to scuttle all the way from the top left side of the map into the fight, but...
Oh, hold position, Lurkers!
Oh, big first volley, able to clean up a lot of bio. I mean, I don't know what these Liberators are really going to be able to get done. I guess it's not something that I see very often in Korean TVZ, so I'm not sure where this is going to go.
Well, I think it's good versus Lurkers, right? Because Lurkers can't do anything, so you kind of run in here and you go, get out.
I guess it's also good against the paltry number of Hydralisks that we have right now.
Yeah, that's true too.
But I mean, Parasitic Bomb is doing so much damage. I mean, there's a lot of attrition right now onto these Liberators. Eventually, you think Shin, he's going to get the Spire done, he's going to have a big swell of Corruptors, and that will clean up basically everything, right?
He's going to come in again. And, I mean, this Nidus could be massive. What's actually back here? Oh, I think he's going to barely deny this in time. It's just going to be enough that you can't finish it.
Yeah, the Liberator is also excellent at dealing with these Nidus plays, because if just Lurkers pop up, well, then the Liberator is going to siege on them from the high ground. You scan, and eventually everything will be cleaned up. Only lose a little bit of infrastructure. So the game's quieting down a little bit. Shin trying to find some damage with the counterattacks, trying to go for some Nidus networks, but nothing really connecting. We have a crazy situation with 16 Liberators here, for Kira. The Spire is now done for Shin. He's maxed out, so he can't really do a big tech switch into the Corruptors or into Mutalisks or anything like that just yet. And Kira's starting to get closer and closer to this forward base, which, keep in mind, Shin was harvesting energy from. It's very low on HP. He's doing it again.
Yeah, you know, it seems like these Liberators can't really contest the Lings and the Banes. The Hydras eventually drive the infantry back, and then the Lings and Banes drive it back, and then the Hydras can actually shoot down the Liberators.
My goodness, what a brilliant play by Shin, too. Going for that engagement, he knew he would push Kira back, and so he dropped the Nidus Canal between these expansions. If Kira just went on autopilot and continued to stutter step back towards his bases, the Lurkers would have destroyed absolutely everything.
Yeah, he would have walked right into that, which would have been crazy.
It's a move I feel like we basically never see in ZVT, but I mean, Shin, he's just been playing so well.
Is this double Nidus or single?
I think it's just single.
He's making another one here. Oh, never mind. I think that was the Nidus. It was morphing over there. But yeah, Shin extremely strong with these Nidus plays. So, where is Kira and Shin at here? Shin's been kind of on the same number of bases. He's had some ambitious bases, you know, in the lower left and the upper right. He hasn't managed to keep them. Parasitic bombs. Oh my God, these are crazy on these Liberators. Just decimating everything.
Is that the 6 Liberators that fell to that parasitic bomb? Just huge. Kira has the bigger economy expanding into the bottom left corner of the map, so he can't afford to replace this. It's almost a role reversal right now with Terran economy being much bigger than Zerg. It's a miracle that Shin has survived this long, but I think Kira might finally just have enough. It seems like Shin is hanging on, but this is most of Shin's forces here in the top side. If you look at the minimap, there is a lot of reinforcements coming for Kira in just a moment.
Yeah, and I don't know that Zerg can fight this part off. And I think the periphery bases are going to be a little bit too weak. One, Infestor kind of just moseys in and gets killed off. Not enough Banes, not enough Hydras, not enough anything here for Zerg. The Baneling Morph is ill-timed. GG. Kira takes game 1. And I got to say, Kira's the first Terran that I think really was able to go toe-to-toe here with Shin. Shin, you know, but Kira also had maybe one of the best mid-games you could ever ask for. Poked out the 4th and then was basically pressing on the 4th and the 5th, the new 4th and then the 5th, so hard that there was really no way to kind of hang on. Yet Shin somehow did. But when Shin was able to come back on the map, Kira was too big by then.
It's such an impressive game 1 by Kira. Absolutely everywhere. I mean, it felt like the 2-prong attacks, the pressure in the early game was going to collapse Shin at any moment, but somehow Shin was able to survive 6, 7, or 8 minutes after that and make the transition into Hive, which is just otherworldly to me. But Kira was in a winning position in game number 1 from what felt like basically the onset all the way through the end. Shin just fighting to survive. And let's see if Shin can break through and tie things up now in game number 2 against a Kira who is looking incredibly strong.
Okay. Kira in the bottom left here, Shin in the top right. Are we going to have any kind of crazy plays? We have actually one SCV going all the way across the map. So at least one proxied Rax. I actually don't.
There's the second one on the minimap.
Okay, there we go. I was going to say, are we going to have another one? So before we had the second SCV come in, I was going to mention that we have seen like 1-1-1 proxy. From Kira, although I guess, was he doing that against Protoss?
Yeah.
What am I talking about? Sorry, guys. So it's going to be a double Rax.
Oh, triple Rax. There's the third SCV coming. Okay, so Kira's going completely all in with this.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this mix-up. I'm thinking back to all the ZVTs that Shin has played. First versus Mario, then versus ByuN, and then, of course, game 1 versus Kira. I can't think of the last time, or I can't easily remember the last time where there was something like a 3 Rax build versus Shin. He's mostly been tested in the mid-game and the late game.
Right.
And obviously Shin is capable of dealing with this if he scouts it. Obviously he knows how to deal with a 3 Rax build. But just in terms of the games that Shin has been playing at the tournament level, the fact that they've mostly been macro games, I think this is a very well-timed switch-up by Kira to come in because it might catch Shin completely off guard.
This is smart. It's down and dirty. It's going to hit like a bus, and Shin's not scouting. It's on a big map here, too. You know, sometimes these strong Zergs, they'll squeeze out 1 or 2 more drones to get into a better position because they know how tight the mid game is going to be. And we had an extremely tight mid game in that last game, right? So he might just be thinking, okay, I'm going to get a little bit greedier here. Here we go. He didn't, maybe save it a Flarva. 2 SCVs immediately coming down here. The bunker starts. The hatch finishes. It's on.
Yeah, no banking of Marines at all.
Roach Warren. Sorry, like SCV in the main.
No, you're
Extractor!
good. Roach Warren in a second extractor. So that tells me that Shin is going to completely forego trying to defend the natural expansion.
Yeah.
I think he's likely going to opt into Roaches and some Ravagers
Oh, got both the things too.
in the main base and try and normalize this game by using Bile to take down the bunkers and eventually resecuring the natural expansion. But I'm not sure if this is going to work out against what Kira's got. Kira has a lot of momentum behind him. Kira's still building SCVs, by the way, back at home. So it is possible to transition out of this play.
Yeah. No, he's going to try to set up to be in a great spot here later on. And so what happens is we're going to have a layer. He's going to try to use Ravagers to break the bunker. Okay, I think there's 1 Ling en route.
And a tech lab actually gets started by Kira on one of those forward barracks. Oh, that is interesting.
Oh my God, he's going to go Marauder.
Yeah, Marauder,
Just
or
fight
even
it.
could potentially save up for stim. I mean, if you pull enough Marines, you might only get 1 good stim out of them, but imagine 20+ Marines eventually stimming in.
Yeah.
You know, you're already basically the
Oh.
main base of Zerg.
He took out the Overlord too. This is like such perfect play.
Okay, it's
What
going to be
HP
Marauders
is the
and
Ling
concussive.
at? Do you want to like lower that and have 2 SCVs attack that?
That's a good idea.
You know?
Why even go for the repair here? Just pull 2 SCVs. I guess the Ling would run away.
Yeah. Okay. So he's making. Oh, dude, he's so good. Ladder's gonna suck this week, by the way, Zergs, because this build is like so perfect. What he's doing. So I'm used to seeing a variation where people expand behind this.
Oh, it's a Nidus Worm for Shin.
Oh my God.
So this is really peculiar. Shin is going for the Nidus play. So Shin is committed just trying to break this right now. He might even use the Overlord, near Kira's natural expansion, or the Ling to get vision into
Now,
the main base.
Here's what's funny. If he goes for the Nidus, he's going to lose a lot of stuff in his main, but can't Terran just run up in here and kill everything?
Yeah, and Terran can also fly. So I think Shin might be gambling a little bit, and it makes sense given what a tricky position this is. He might be gambling that Kira's going for the macro play behind this, trying to re-expand, but Kira's actually got tech labs. He's turning out Marauders. Kira's staying on 1 base. He's getting stim now. He's not planning to expand. Kira, I don't even know if he's seen the Nidus, and he's going to push up the ramp.
Yep, he's going to go ahead and spread the damage out here. Our SCV is going to be pulled with this.
I mean,
This
Shin
is
was
so weird. Okay, the Roaches are going to come through. Does that prompt Kira to come up here now?
Seems it does. Only 1 Marauder left, though, so there's not too much DPS. The Marines and Marauders slowly getting whittled down by the Roaches and the Spine on the high ground.
Okay, Shin wins this. There's no way to recover.
Wow.
That's crazy.
What a
wow,
game.
GG. Beautifully done. That was something else. What a different TVZ that was. I loved what Kira was doing. Yeah, you could see the Nidus play was not really something he saw as a possibility.
Yeah, I think Kira was kind of on the same page that we were, where he's like, oh, well, Shin's probably going to try and hold this with as few Ravagers as possible, where he can just mile down the bunkers and then re-expand and things are going to normalize. But I'll trick him. I'll build tech labs, I'll get stim, I'll get Marauders all 1 base, and when he tries to get down to natural, I'll be able to break through. Well, no, Shin goes into a lair, gets a Nidus network. By the way, that Nidus, perfectly placed. The Nidus was in a position such that if Kira pushes up the ramp the way that he did, the units that Shin has in Kira's main base can immediately go back home, unload, and be in the fight within seconds. That was very well placed by Shin, and really a perfectly executed response to what Kira was doing. I thought with the unscattered 3 racks, with the deny of the natural expansion there of Shin, with a clever switch up of going into Marauders with concussive and then stim, Kira's in a very good position, but the Nidus just pulling the rug out from under him, and now Shin has tied the series up 1-1.
We're going to go to White Rabbit here for Game 3 and find out who's the first survivor, moving on to the round of 8 in Day 1 of Season 2 of the GSL.
All right,
Kira top right,
you're
Shin bottom left.
faster than me, Tasteless.
Sorry. Sorry.
You're on a roll.
In those contained games, there's an interesting thing I've seen in Starcraft where when you get contained, you know, I think the temptation from the guy containing you is to expand, right? Because it's like, well, I've got him contained, and if I get one base up and I keep it up for a while, I just win, right? Because, you know, I'm just going to have that much more. But I have also seen this concept where you just, the guy that contains you expands literally as late as possible and just tries to keep you both on one base, but take advantage of the contain. And then, you know, at the last second you take a base and they just don't quite have enough. Because your infrastructure down there, like the bunker, the repair, everything, makes it a little bit harder to fight. And that's kind of what Kier was going for. But Shin with just like some really smart, you know, kind of a judo flip of a build. Like everything you have is down here. I still have my ramp. So the weak spot's actually in your main. Impressive.
Shin played a great game, thinking on his feet. And map number 2, and now we are all tied up, going on to White Rabbit, and kind of hoping that we gear up for another macro game here between these two, because game 1 was so much fun to watch. Just the relentless aggression by Cure, the tenacity and the determination to survive by Shin. I wonder if we go into a mid-game where Shin has maybe a little bit more success getting established. Let's say the 4th hatchery doesn't get canceled, say Cure isn't able to get too much economic damage done the way that he did in game number 1, and things are even. I'm really curious who that is going to favor in a straight-up macro game, because Cure looked so good in that game number 1, but you know, Shin, he's fresh off of a 3-2 victory over Maru. He just took down ByuN in some really impressive macro games, the first match of this group. I hope we get something longer between these two.
Yeah, I mean, I think we will. I mean, Cure, I think, came with a really smart plan, but, I mean, Shin just clearly had the answer for it. You know, Shin, again, this is the best we've ever seen Shin play. Like, he's so... oh, okay, he's not going to get that thrown. Shin is just, like, able to flow through the game so naturally and come out to a really good spot. Again, it's a testament to how good Cure is that he was able to kind of go toe-to-toe with him. Looks like that SCV is actually not going to get killed off here. A little bit of a misstep by Shin.
Chudling's not finding the connection, and Cure immediately throwing down a 3rd command center. So certainly building the framework to set up for a long macro game if Cure wants to go down this road. Although if we were to go for a real throwback build, something like an 8 racks, which we haven't yet seen today. We did have a 5 racks build from ByuN before the 4th command center, and then some additional barracks, which was the closest that we've got. It would be a fun way to test Shin here in map number 3. And Cure, just thinking back to that era of 8 racks TVZ, he was the master of it, in my opinion. He was the best player in the world at executing that 8 racks build.
I think so.
If memory serves, I think
maybe him and Maru, or yeah.
I still give the edge to Cure. I think it was one of the reasons why Cure got, what was it, like a top 4 at EWC. It was a lot of that hinging on his TVZ, his 8 racks play. Cure's been so good at that build, but it's been out of the meta for quite a while now.
Now the Hellions are going to come up here, and he's going to do the dive. Okay, this could actually be really bad for Shin. This is a lot of drones that are going to get killed here. All right, he still has 2 alive, which means 2 more volleys. 5 drones is good. 5 drones, the Hellions have paid for themselves and a little bit more. Terran going to go into Banshee Cloak. And, you know, Cure's been very good. Oh, my God. I can't believe he's going to do this.
Just running in again. I guess some of the drones are still bruised. How many more can you get?
Okay.
It's like only 1 for now. Shin a little bit better prepared for it this time. I think Cure might be able to snipe at least 1 more. Yeah, he gets it.
Well, you know, if this can, you know, pair up with the Banshees, maybe he's going to keep Shin's drone count pretty low. Command center is going to land over at the 3rd base.
I think Cure just sending the Hellions into the natural expansion and seeing what he saw, which was just queens and drones, is feeling really confident right now to take this 3rd base very quickly, because there really isn't much on the ground here for Cure, but he can comfortably take that base and begin saturating it. It's in kind of a funny position too. Honestly, on White Rabbit, when I'm playing this map on the ladder, I always feel a little bit of indecision in terms of which direction I want to expand. You can see the Shin expanded linearly across the bottom side of the map, taking the 6 o'clock base. Like you're actually going for this more triangle type expansion, but it's kind of a long walk from the natural to the third to get there. So I wonder, you know, Shin does have this Overlord spotting the natural of Cure. Does he know that this third base is done? Does he know that it's mining? Because Shin might be in the dark.
Okay, the Hellions are going to come in again. This is the third act of the Hellions going to move in here to do damage. Shin has really good defense with that. Perfect Evo chambers to block. Does not get the kill on the hatchery. You got to be careful with that. You know, sometimes they're not moving quick enough and that hatchery just gets popped. 300 minerals down the drain. The Hellions are going to come back in. And I mean, the way that Cure is playing this feels like he is hinging this whole thing on basically hitting with a timing where there were just enough drones killed that like Zerg gets tipped over. I mean, he's playing like a maniac. With the, I mean, these Hellions are frothing at the mouth. The counterattack here, does he actually get any? That was insane. Did he not kill anything?
Dude, this is so cool by Cure. That little position being utilized by the Marines.
This nook spot over here.
Oh, Shin getting a much better trade right now. Actually, even then, well, I suppose it is a lot of SCVs, but
yeah,
the initial engagement was so cool by Cure, and my favorite thing about it was he had those two Marines in the front that were body blocking, right? They were holding up the choke. He only stimmed the one Marine in the back.
Yeah. He knew he needed him to soak.
Oh, man. Awesome play by Cure. Honestly, I think even though he lost a lot of SCVs, it might still be worth it because he took that third base so aggressively, you know? I mean, that base has been mining from the low ground for so often that the saturation alone might have made it worth it.
Okay, so here comes the push. And again, I mean, the way that Cure's playing this, oh my god, Shin's probably got some great ideas with these counterattacks here. If he can slow the push down and make him come back, that's going to be pretty nice. Oh, the Lings are just kind of spreading like wildfire over here. Going up into the main now.
Yeah, this is pretty huge. 8 more SCVs falling. Unfortunately for Cure, a lot of these barracks were not close to completing their production cycle, so it's going to be basically the whole army coming back from the map to try and defend.
Terran made the army already, right? I mean, the SCVs were high enough in number. It's not like I think he's going to get slowed down with this, but here comes the push. Question is, were there enough cuts made by the Terran on the Zerg, excuse me, where the Zerg is going to be bleeding? And then this can finish him off. Now, Cure, by the way, was so scary in game 1 of this best of 3. Oh my god. Now this could backfire for Shin. Sometimes you counterattack a whole bunch and the push just kills you. I don't know if that's going to happen here, but we're going to see. Again, you're killing SCVs, the push is already here. Cure's going to hit a low value target. It's basically a ghost town of a base, which, I don't know, man. This is the 6th base in the game.
I think it might be important just to take this down to use this position as a staging ground for the next push in, because there are some really good siege tank spots, specifically behind this mineral line and by the Vespene Geyser, that you can use to basically get set up and then start attacking the much more high-value base. By the way, I mean, just so many Lings coming in once more to the third. Fresh Mules, 3 of them, or at least 2 are getting taken out. It's just so much economic damage. You can see it's really catching a lot of Cure's attention. He's been slow to push in towards this more valuable base. Wow, good control by Cure. Focus firing with the siege tanks and getting the scan to use it at maximum range. Takes out almost all the infestors.
Okay, he takes out all the creep tumors. The fungal connects, but there's so much here for Cure. Everything's going to come down to if Shin can hold on. This is not a split push like game 1. This is basically everything together, working in unison, trying to crack this spot open. If he's able to break here, the top spot is going to fall. The counterattacks are turning into hits on the reinforcements, excuse me. There's a lot going on here. The medevac actually just gets picked off.
Oh, surprising Shin actually won that engagement in the middle with the Lings. I guess the upgrade's just superior right now.
These Marines win this? This is insane.
Well, it's like just Queens.
It's just like, there's like the same number of Marines as there are Queens. Okay, that was an overextension. This actually might cause the push to fall apart.
The +2 Carapace upgrade here for Shin is just absolutely carrying right now. Cura's playing so Marine heavy, and it's just +1 infantry weapons versus the +2 Carapace of the Zerg, that a lot of the DPS of Cura's army is being hindered. And even though it looks like these fights should go Cura's way, such as the reinforcements fighting the Lings in the middle, Shin is getting the better end of a lot of these trades, even though he's in dire straits right now in terms of supply, specifically army supply. Shin's been able to make this work, and he might be able to buy enough time to actually get some ultras on the field, which could totally change the outcome of this game.
Okay, so basically Kjær stopped reinforcing the push because he needed to curb the counterattacks. There were like, I've lost count of how many times 25 Lings have ran in here and done so much damage. And now that push is going to come down. I'm sorry, it's actually going to go to the left side of the map, so he's switched between a split push again.
Oh, first few ultras out on the field now.
Okay, so he's got the ultras out here, but now this push is going to come. The ultras make it a lot harder to just siege up and fight.
I believe ultra armor is already researched too, and this is a mostly marine force.
Yeah,
so
Titus plating's done.
Widowmine's getting a good shot in on the ultra. It seems like there just isn't enough accompanying the ultra to actually take the fight right now.
Yeah.
Marine should be able to take an out. Transfuse does come through, buys a little bit more time, but Kjær's just got a little bit too much, I think, Tasteless.
Yeah, you need Lings with this. And, you know, the Ultras go low. It's actually way less scary than you think. That's why the Widowmines are so important here. He picks up, he glides into the main.
That one ultra transfused maybe 5 or 6 times by Shin. It's like his hero unit. It's like Shin's playing Warcraft 3 right now with this one
That's
ultra trying to stay alive.
He's going to pick up.
Oh, he wishes it was a Tauren Chieftain. He would love a reincarnate on some of these ultras.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it just seems like Kjær is slowly edging away. I mean, this hatchery is going to go down. The bottom center base, I think, should be saved by Shin in time. Yeah, just a couple of Marines there, not able to focus fire down that hatchery. The thing is that Shin's been reset down to 4 bases. He's back on equal footing economically here with the Terran. That's not where you want to be as Zerg.
Zerg does not have a lot of gas, and I think Terran just has enough that he's going to bust him. He just has enough where it's like, how are you going to really ever deal with my Marine Marauder now? You know, there's, you know, more Ultras than there are Zerglings right now in the game. And I think that basically Shin's lost. I think Kjær's going to be going on first in this group. Again, Kjær is just God tier. Wow, look at that. He doesn't even have anything mining over here. He's like, why would I do that? Lings are going to counterattack here. And they're just going to run into my Widow Mines, and then I'm going to clean it up and land it again.
And Kjær is playing so brilliantly here. Game number 3, now attacking in. Once more going to deny that hatchery. Shin on only 3 mining bases. There are a lot of Ultras here, but is it going to be enough? That's so many Marauders, Tasteless. 20 Marauders in total and a ton of Widow Mines to back them up. Shin charges in, no more energy left, and GG is called. Kjær going to advance in first place out of Group A.
Nicely done there by Kjær. I mean, you could see Shin kind of just running his hands through his hair like, man, what do I do? You know, the setup was good. So many Hellions just kamikazing in there and killing drones. Banshee's going for drones. And everything was about that push hitting and doing just enough that the bases were going to fall, the position would crumble.
I mean, that was just a perfectly played game by Kjær. I was so impressed with his macro and the way that he was able to split push and get damage done on multiple sides of the map, both in game number 1 and in game number 3. And it's funny because if you've never seen the first-person view of Kjær play, he actually looks really slow. And it's not that he is physically slow or that he's bad at multitasking. He isn't. He's very good. He's very fast. But he is just so calm with his control that he makes everything look easy. If you're curious and you've never seen it, I invite you to go watch some VODs. I know at EWC they did a lot of first-person views. Kjær is such a treat to watch. And so whenever I see him play a game like game number 1 or game number 3 versus Shin, where he's doing all these fancy attacks and he's all in every which way, I just know that, like, from his point of view, on his computer screen, everything looks so simple and so straightforward, and I love that about his play.
It was really impressive. We're going to go to the interview now and see how Kjær is feeling. He's moving on into the round of 8.
All right, Kjær, congratulations on your victory, your first place advancing from this group. The main question I want to ask you is about your first series versus SOS. Now, you played a very defensive style where you tried to max out and craft the perfect army. And I want to ask you, do you think that's the best way to play TVP in general, or is that specifically your approach to beating SOS?
일단 김도우 선수 1위 진출 축하드리고요. 일단 첫 번째 질문으로는 김유진 선수와의 이제 대결에서 좀 질문드릴 게 있어요. 아무래도 김유진 선수와의 대결에서 굉장히 좀 수비적으로 일관하시면서 좀 굉장히 천천히 나아가는 플레이를 선보이셨는데 지금 그게 이제 태프전의 좀 메타라고 생각하시는지 아니면은 김유진 선수를 대비한 좀 맞춤 전략이라고 좀 생각하시는지 궁금하네요.
일단 처음에 유진이 형이 무슨 빌드를 쓸지 솔직히 감이 안 와가지고 일단 좀 수비적으로 마인드랍 하면서 수비적으로 해야겠다 이런 생각은 가지고 있었는데 저도 상황이 좀 처음 나와보는 상황들이다 보니까 그냥 결국 평소에 하던 운영을 하게 됐는데 유진이 형이 아무래도 평소에 질럿 추적자 거신 위주로 게임을 하시다 보니까 중후반 갈수록 저한테 좀 힘이 실린 것 같아요.
Yeah, I mean, against SOS is actually you cannot expect what to face. So that being said, I try to be defensive as possible, to just slow down and try to be macro as possible. So now I think I tend to be more defensive because I get to face the situations that I never faced before. So that kind of makes me to stick with the macro even more, and then be just turtle and be defensive, and then in a macro play, I think I get more advantage, and considering his play style, so yeah, I think that's the reason I got the advantage there.
Congratulations on winning today. You got top 4 in Season 1. What are your plans or expectations going forward in Season 2?
이제 시즌 1에서는 4강에 또 진출을 하셨는데 이번 시즌에서는 또 목표가 있다면 좀 어디까지 목표를 잡고 있으신지 궁금합니다.
목표라기보단 저번 시즌의 마지막에 준비를 좀 잘못된 방향으로 했던 것 같아서 이번 시즌은 좀 더 준비 잘 해가지고 그래도 첫 시즌 4강 갔으니까 결승까지 가보고 싶습니다.
Yeah, last season, yeah, I get some regrets on the preparation process for the semifinals and the semifinals. So that being said, I'll try to get more on the right direction as possible to prepare for the next stage and get the trophy.
All right. Well, congratulations. Good luck to you in the future of the tournament.
네, 감사합니다.
네, 감사합니다.
All right, guys. Well, that was a great series.
Yeah, Cure
That was sick.
looked so good over the course of today. I mean, I am just so impressed with his play, particularly versus SOS, the defensive style that he had, and then switching gears versus Shin, one of the more aggressive Zergs. I mean, look at what we saw between ByuN and Shin. Shin is so hard to kill in the mid game, but Cure, especially in Game 1 and Game 3, was able to play and execute so well. He kind of made it look easy. I mean, Shin did, of course, put up a fight, but my goodness, Cure, wow.
Cure might be the best TVZ in Korea right now. Guys, we're going to go to a short break. Coming up next, we're going to eliminate one of our players. We'll be right back.
that you're longing for a little change. A bit of something different in a different place. Somewhere the grass is greener. Call it a spiritual healer. I hear you, darling, I feel you.
GSL Season 2.
Welcome back, everybody. Today has kicked ass. We've had some amazing games. Three best of threes in a row that were amazing. This next one, I'm curious what it's going to look like. Look, SOS has literally been, out of all of StarCraft 1 and all of StarCraft 2, he's been my favorite player to cast. I am just delighted that he's back here, and we get to see how he expresses himself in the game. But I think you'd be a fool to not say ByuN is probably very favored here. ByuN is clearly a guy who's been active the whole time, is in incredible shape, has some really sharp ideas and some great execution. This is going to be tough for SOS.
It's going to be tough, but I think it is possible for SOS in a best of 3 to take out ByuN. As we saw earlier on in his series versus Kira, although that went 2-0 in Kira's favor, SOS has a lot of unique ideas about how to approach this matchup, and some pretty tricky plays to start things out too. I'm thinking back to, I can't remember if it was map 1 or map 2, SOS taking the second base at a location which isn't really his natural expansion, and then trying to pivot into doing some sort of immortal play with gateways.
Is that a foam roller behind SOS? I think it is.
Oh, I could use one of those right now for my back.
I could use one of those. I was just thinking that. I'm like, I need a foam roller in the studio that I can just like.
Oh, we should get one.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
I just lay on it, and every button that I have buttoned up, and this suit just pops out.
Feels good. It's on the buttons of your back too, right along the spinal cord, man.
Oh, when I do that, I become so crunchy. It's like,
crunchy.
Yeah, crunch. It unlocks crunchy taste. Hey, you got to get one of those foam rollers.
If you're young, you might not understand the need for it just yet, but I'm in my 30s now. The foam roller is my favorite part about going to the gym. Sometimes I just go for the foam roller.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. It feels so good. Okay, so SOS, I don't know that he's going to, he's not going to put a pylon in the middle of the map here. This is a scout to see if there is a proxy Rax.
Yeah, a lot of players like to go for the super fast scout. I know that Hero is one of the ones that come to mind first and foremost for players who can just immediately pull one of the 12 starting workers and send it cross map, because usually you can get a little bit of idle time forced on the Terran side of the map. I mean, they kind of always need to have one SCV chasing the probe, which mitigates a lot of the economic damage done indirectly by pulling a probe and having one less starting worker mining. Plus you get the scouting information, you get to bruise some of these SCVs. It's a nice early start here for SOS. He's not going to be going for any sort of super aggressive play from the beginning, like we saw earlier on in the series with the proxy gateway. It's just one gateway here on the main base. And ByuN seems like opting for just a one gas expand.
Okay. So, SOS, I liked what Kira said in his interview. It's like, you really don't know what he's going to do, right? Like, it's very tough to have an idea of, like, what SOS is going to do. So you kind of just play slow and macro and kind of see what trickery you're going to wade into. SOS is, I think to this day, still had the most eccentric, out there, advanced stuff. In my mind, in StarCraft 2. And I'm not saying, like, that takes nothing away from Cyril and Maru and all these great players, right? But, like, he's had some of the craziest strats. There was a period where this guy, was it 2 times in a row, world champion of BlizzCon?
I just knew there was a period where whenever there was a tournament that had a 6-digit prize pool, he was going to win it.
Yeah. $$, $. So, you know, let's see what he's going to bring here. The problem, I think, for SOS is the current meta is pretty advanced. I think it's kind of hard to tiptoe your way around it or to do a sleight of hand.
Yeah.
And pull something out. I mean, he had kind of an odd opener against Pure that, like, I'm not really sure what ideas he had. I guess we didn't get to see because the Reaper just scouted the third base. Or the second base at the third base location is what I mean to say. But let's see. Let's see. I mean, the one thing about SOS is he can play straight up. He can go play macro games and do all that. That's why he's so scary.
Yeah, SOS might be the player that I can think of who is the single most impacted by having a 12-worker start as opposed to a 6-worker start. Because whenever you go to a higher worker starting count, like from 6 to 12, it kind of minimizes a lot of what can be done in the early game. Because builds just come online too quickly, it becomes a lot easier to defend. It almost becomes, you know, the natural expansion is kind of where the game begins now in the current state of StarCraft 2, as opposed to the one base being a really viable strategy at Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm. And so for SOS, you know, in the current meta, which is much more macro-focused, and especially in a game that has aged another 7, 8, maybe even 9 years from SOS's peak, players have also figured out the game a lot more. It's hard to come through with something so unorthodox that it truly catches a player of Pure or ByuN's caliber off guard.
Just immediately scouts the Widowmine. Does he go back on this, or does he just commit anyways?
Seems like ByuN's going to commit, but he's going to change the trajectory a little bit from the medevac. And I like that adjustment coming in by ByuN, but SOS seems to have caught wind of it. I'm not sure if he got a glancing shot of that medevac or if he is just intuiting exactly where it is going. The Stalkers are keeping fairly good tabs on its trajectory, or at least they were. Right now, watching the minimap, it seems like SOS might be hedging his bets and going to the junction between the main base and the natural expansion, while the medevac is now coming here into the mineral line. Widowmine's drop, medevac very low on HP. Honestly, well done by SOS here to start things out. That's basically perfect. He lost 1 probe in the natural expansion. The medevac is on 1 hit.
He needs to get the medevac back home right away. Oh, not in your face. So he takes that out. Gonna kill off the Widowmine. And, you know, not bad. I think losing the medevac hurts. This is, by the way, sorry, was there no third CC?
No third CC?
There was not. Dude, that's so funny. I've seen so many third CCs. I actually had already decided he had done that. So it's going to be a 2-base push. Now, losing the medevac hurts because that's 1 less heal. SOS is going to run across the map here. He's going to scout this with the hallucinated Phoenix and see, okay, I need to brace for impact.
Oh, Stim just got started. There are some Marines here on the high ground, but the siege tank just now finished. SOS not going for the tech lab, instead going for the lower HP add-on, the one constructing on the medevac. Still a very valuable pick-off.
Nice instant cancel there. And I love the auto turret coming down here. Did kind of miss target there. Probably should have gone for the probes a little bit faster. Could have probably gotten 3 or 4 instead of 2. And now the Raven's going to live back here.
That's its home now.
Yep.
We're going to park there until probably the push commences on the front of SOS. And SOS, with charge nearing completion, is going to throw down to 4 more gateways and a Templar Archives. Now, with only 3 gas, I don't think this is going to be for Storm. I think SOS just wants to make his army a little bit beefier by being able to focus more on spending the minerals onto Zealots and still being able to efficiently spend the gas on something strong and sturdy such as Archons.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a couple of Archons here. And this is going to be one of those things like, this is meant to smash the push. You know, whenever you see Terran coming at you like this, you know you have to be ready to win a fight. You can't basically wait too long and let them siege up and start to push you because things are going to fall apart. So you basically have to run out there, and right when they're about to pounce on you, you take them and you brawl them. And ideally take them down and then start expanding again. He has, what is spotting? Oh, I'm sorry, those are the Stalkers from earlier. Does he just pull SCVs with this?
I was going to say you probably do. I mean, he might, but he just threw down a 3rd command center. So it seems like ByuN wants to transition out of this. Now, we have seen players like Maru go for a push like this one, pull SCVs and still macro out of it if it fails. But for now, it seems like ByuN is happy just to be using his main army. And honestly, at this point, especially with +1 infantry weapons and combat shields finishing up, and with how much time ByuN has been producing this army, it is massive. And it'll be a challenge for SOS to come in with mostly Charge Zealots and Archons here as the power units and find the surface area. Oh, Armor Shredding Missile connecting with the majority of the Protoss forces here. Oh, I don't know, Tasteless. Even with a big Warfin right now, this is a scary position for SOS.
He just takes the battery out over here. He just like keeps microing underneath this. He's like, trap me back here with a force field, I do not care. SOS is going to die. I've never seen a Terran push that far away from the tanks and still make it work. But what are you gonna do? I don't know how truly active SOS is. I mean, one thing about a player like SOS, I mean, this guy's a multiple world champion. He can come back and, tear people apart and qualify for GSL, right? But I'm not really sure if he's approaching the matchup for how it appears to operate. And by the way, PBT has gone through like crazy metamorphoses in the last 2 years. And I feel like I'm watching someone play from like the pandemic era. You know what I'm saying? Like it feels like we're looking at a very different approach overall. Now that doesn't mean that SOS can't win here, but ByuN, like, let me put it like this: SOS knew the push was coming. SOS had ample time to prepare for it, and it like totally didn't matter. And the game's gone through several patches. There's been changes and adjustments, and we're all. It's Dragon Ball Z over here. Everybody's powering up. Everybody's training harder. Everybody's getting better. That's what makes tournaments like this good. But I'm trying not to be mean here. It just seemed like SOS came here with like a really obsolete approach.
Yeah, I wonder if, because SOS beat a lot of very good Terrans to get here, and now he's been mostly playing PBT. He played versus Kira, now he's playing versus ByuN. The games haven't been good so far in this group of GSL, but he took down ByuN in the qualifiers to get it here. ByuN still survived in the lower bracket of the qualifiers, but SOS did take him out. SOS also defeated Bunny. And so I wonder if it's not just that his style is a little bit dated, but I wonder if it's that now that people know they're playing against SOS, they can look into his styles and see where he is the least well-rounded. And perhaps that is some builds like timing attacks, such as ByuN did, with a +1 infantry weapons, a long build-up time, so the Charge Zealot Archon style isn't quite as good as a response. Or as Kira just going for an absolute exhaust play. Because it seems like SOS, if you just play him in kind of a one-day tournament, you don't know he's going to be your opponent, you don't have the time to prepare for it.
Okay, this is weird. How did that get up before the eBay?
It's an 18 Nexus.
Oh, that's
so
why.
SOS
Okay.
actually cut one probe to do it, and it's also a Nexus before core. Actually, a Nexus even before gas. Okay,
Yeah,
wait,
yeah,
this
yeah,
is a build. This is a build that Parting used to do at the beginning of Wings of Liberty, more or less. Although I think that was a 17 Nexus 17 gas. I mean, this is like 10 years
so
ago.
Weird, yeah.
Yeah.
You mean Legacy of the Void, right? Wings
Yeah,
of
the
Liberty
very.
was-
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. The very beginning of Legacy of the Void. Yeah, this is an ancient build.
He's bringing back the builds of the ancients.
I feel like
SOS is one of the ancients. It makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like when Parting used to do this like 10 years ago, you would go for this super fast Nexus and he would basically only make Stalkers. And this is when Parting was one of the first players to like ever go for the super fast third base in PBT with just Blink Stalkers as a backup. I mean, it was revolutionary at the time, even though now it sounds kind of standard in PBT. We see 2-gate or 3-gate Blink into a third Nexus fairly often. Back then it was 1-gate Blink into a third base. But yeah, that's a real throwback build. Gasless 18 Nexus.
Okay. Double racks here. This is the concussive shell build. What is ByuN's like shaking his head, or I don't know what happened back there. Something happened. Although we're not going to know what that is, but he's going to continue to make the concussive shell. We're getting 2 more gates here. Terran, by the way, is getting 2 more racks here, so both sides are, not be trying to dive into a third base. Oh, that was funny. So he's going to shade it over there and just go for the recall. I think we're going to have a hallucinated Phoenix Scout. By the way, this is not that common to do.
The concussive shell build, you mean?
I meant, just getting a Sentry and hallucinated Phoenix right away. People don't do this as much anymore. It's much more common to just go Blink into Robo. again, it's not right or wrong, but it's like, you know, are you playing what the meta and the top of the ladder are doing? Or are you kind of doing something from a different time? Sometimes it's good to bring out old builds, by the way.
Oh, for sure.
Sometimes you would be amazed the success those have. It's like, oh, that's an old idea, but it works against a new idea.
So SOS is going to go for the third Nexus before Twilight Council, I think. It is 3 gateways and a third, and the extra gateways were mostly in response to seeing Concussive Shell. SOS just playing quite safe right now. ByuN on his side of the map. He's building up towards a timing attack, and I imagine the timing attack will hit with combat shields and +1 and not just stim, because this is a 3 racks opening. Medevacs are minutes away from being on the field. The factory is only just now starting, and so there will be a significant power spike for ByuN in a little more than a minute. Once +1 infantry weapons is done, and assuming combat shields get started up right away, once that is also finished, everything should synergize very well for a push. Although we'll see. ByuN is already moving out of the map. This is not a lot of army. You might just want to take out this pylon.
Yeah, so he's going to spot the pylon up here. I don't know what the plans were with this. Certainly doesn't feel like you can attack someone who's going concussive shell. I'm curious. Well, hold on a second. He's going to... I think, again, ByuN kind of seems to be just going for a punchy style here. You know, this is a different 2-base timing that has a different... You know, these units have a different synergy together, but, you know, the concussive shell can be very brutal. You know, especially if you're trying to retreat. If you're caught in a bad position at all, you know, everything kind of just melts. It is a medevacless push. Oh, that's funny. Hallucinated. God, he just plays so differently, you know? He's going to come in here now. He baits out the Guardian Shield. I don't know. I think that's worse for Terran in some way. Because, like, you know, you just stimmed and took damage on your entire army. So he's going to actually head back. You need to have medevacs, basically. He's going to have to swap the starport onto the reactor that the factory's building.
Yeah, I feel like this had a lot of potential. Had ByuN gone for combat shields right away and push with +1 infantry weapons,
Jesus.
but instead just moving out like that.
How many gates is he making?
That's a lot, Tasteless.
He's got 2 at the natural.
I believe he's going up into 8. I think it just looks ridiculous.
It's more than 8. I think there's 2 gateways at the natural, right?
Well, he had 3 before. He's making 5 more now. I don't know if he made any in between. I think it just looks ridiculous because usually you see the Protoss player typically like trickle out 2 gateways at a time.
Yeah.
And SOS just throwing down all 5 right now, the moment that pushes over, because he knows that he doesn't need to spend minerals warping an army or anything. He can just invest everything into the infrastructure. So the 8 gates are coming online super quick. Certainly is unusual.
Okay. We are going to see the push come up and hit. There is a Warp Prism, but this guy, I feel like they're both getting ready to attack into each other, which is kind of funny. I don't know about split pushing here for ByuN, or like dropping here and trying to hit somewhere else. I feel like the Protoss is going to have just this overwhelming amount. You're right, that's 5 gates. For some reason, I thought that was way more.
Yeah, it's a very funny timing to have 5 gateways built all at once. ByuN dropping into the natural expansion. I'm not actually sure whether Blink is done yet. I think this might be charge first with no Blink as of yet.
I think it's blinkless.
And that's going to make dealing with dropships like this a lot more annoying here for SOS. He needs to sequester so many forces in the natural expansion just because he can't get on top of it that quickly. And that might open up an opportunity for ByuN to attack into the 3rd base.
This is going... Oh, he's going to drop in here again. But he's sending his army back on the other side of the map, which is odd. He's going to kill Stalkers. And I don't... Can that actually hide over there between those 2?
I think it barely can.
Yeah, I think
maybe 2 medevacs wouldn't be able to, but I think 1 certainly can.
Okay, got to be careful. I don't know about how this game's gone for ByuN so far. I feel like he's had kind of weird engagements that like Protoss is happy to trade. You know, if you're killing off medevacs and Marines, like you don't really care as long as you're not losing probes.
Oh, now this is a funny moment. Both armies passing through the center of the map. None the wiser that their opponent is doing the same.
So now there's no target here for SOS. There's no 3rd base, so if he hits this, I think he's going to lose because there's Widow Mines here. Oh my God.
And the Terran army can get on top of the production so much faster, but ByuN, or SOS going to be pushing here into the natural expansion of ByuN. Widowmines get huge shots on the Zealots. We have another big warp in into the main base. ByuN now going into the center. There are only 3 pylons powering the majority of the gateways here. Blink gets denied. Forge upgrade gets denied. This is a very base trading situation. SOS does have the larger army, though.
Oh.
Not having Blink, I think, is one of the critical problems here for SOS.
So Terran has 11 SCVs. He's pulled them. Protoss, I mean, so where can ByuN go now? I mean, the one functional base is at 12, right? This is so funny.
Yeah, the base is at 12, but I'm not sure how useful it is right now. This is a weird situation. I mean, as ByuN, I guess you do want to make sure that you take on every single Nexus, but SOS is soon going to be so supply blocked he won't be able to do very much, right?
So SOS is going to go throw a Nexus down in the natural and basically try to camp it out. The command centers can float to safety. Wow, he takes out the mines.
Oh, that's huge for SOS.
Does he not know about 12?
It's much more important, I think, to make sure.
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to catch this army
Oh
even.
my God, you can't lose this SOS, no!
That positioning was so unfortunate. I was going to say, I think it's much more important that you just make sure that the Twilight Council and the Forge are not getting powered up.
Right.
As
Okay.
opposed to just like 4 or 5 probes mining from another base.
So he's going to go to the bottom left because why take out the Nexus when you can't make anything right now? Barracks are going to land. ByuN, by the way, does have minerals, does have supply to produce.
I like SOS adding in all this static defense, but the problem is it doesn't synergize with his army very well. He's mostly got Zealots. He has Stalkers without Blink.
Should this be moved further back? I just feel like you want to have it. Yeah, I was going to say this creates a bottleneck. Okay, probes are taking damage here. I guess the reality is he's going to get a few more Marines out. He can then lift this off.
Once that Nexus finishes, energy recharge on these sentries can be very useful.
Ooh!
Oh, excellent force fields by SOS!
Dude, that was
Wow.
crazy. I don't think the barracks should have been landed there.
Yeah.
You want to keep a big, wide area open on that side.
Yeah, you're right.
He created like an angle where he's like, oh, now I just get owned by force fields.
Man, I thought when that base trade began, I thought SOS was down for the count. I thought ByuN was going to win it. He already had Widowmines in the natural expansion. There was a bunker set up. There were a considerable number of bio units that were already rallied to the natural. But SOS was able to get just enough out of his gateways before they were unpowered. But he actually had a considerable army. And then catching the Widowmines, then being able to really force ByuN's hand by building a Nexus on ByuN's side of the map with photon cannons, with shield batteries. Didn't matter that he didn't have Blink or Forge upgrades, that his army was mostly Zealots. SOS had just enough, and now we are all tied up. And I'm glad SOS got one on the board, honestly.
Yeah, this is exciting. I mean, hey, this guy knows how to win. Unusual base trade. I think SOS handled it really well. I got a little scared when I saw the Zealots and the Stalkers get killed off back there. I thought, oh no. You know, the reality is when you're in a base trade and one guy has workers, the other guy doesn't, the workerless player really is pressed to, like, figure it out. I did not like the barracks land, though, near the base. Do that anywhere but there. I know you're in a hurry to get Marines, but, you know, good force fields are how you lose that fight. Final game. Remember, the loser's out of the GSL.
This is the elimination match. SOS spawning in the bottom right is the blue Protoss, ByuN, the red Terran in the top left. Winner moves on to face the runner-up Shin in a qualifying match for the round of 8. Loser is out of the GSL Codas for Season 2. And it's cool that SOS went for that kind of build in game number 2 as well. You know, the gasless 18 Nexus, you really don't see it that often. The way that he was able to transition it into a very normal-looking game, despite going for 3 gates before Twilight Council, which, again, you hardly ever see, I think. I feel like 1 gate into a Twilight Council and then to at least 1 more gate before the 3rd base is maybe 90% of Protoss versus Terran that we see at this level.
Yeah, I agree. Probe just checking. Is there any barracks hidden around here? SOS with the older builds.
Yeah, he's doing it again. 18 Nexus.
Smart, man. I mean, if you're going to go for a build, you know, in a really modern era that people seem to like be basically invincible versus, just go for something much older in a different time. And I mean, we don't see any other Protosses doing this at all, right? I don't think so. Not here, not in RSL.
Yeah, I haven't been seeing an RSL or a GSL. And this is, it's not like it's new knowledge. This is a variant of a build that's been around maybe a decade plus. I mean, Legacy of the Void, it's about as old as Legacy of the Void. You know, but you just don't see it very often in modern PvT. It's about as greedy as builds get in this matchup with the very fast Nexus, the delayed mining of gas, the no scout that comes through, or at least the delayed scout for SOS. But if you aren't punished for it, it can transpose really nicely into a mid game.
Okay, so in this game, is ByuN going to go for a powering 2-base again? He seems to really be sticking with this throughout the series, confident that he can take out SOS if he can just hit at the right time. The problem is that in that last game, SOS shut it down, which means ByuN might want to go for something more standard. Not that you can't 2-base, and it's 2-base isn't out of this world, right? But sometimes when you 2-base really hard to try to win, you're giving up opportunities later on. There's I guess if to put in air quotes, like correct play, you just kind of keep developing, keep growing, look for timings, then transition to the next phase, the next phase, the next phase. But sometimes it's smart to try to kind of build the game up to one power spike and close it out. And that's what ByuN's done in Game 1 and Game 2. It's both worked and failed here.
And I very much like the way that SOS is playing this in Game number 3. Even though he won Game number 2, I like this transition a lot more. The faster Twilight Council before those extra 2 gateways. Likely there will be a 3rd base to follow this for SOS.
It also seemed like the last game he wanted to have a pylon out on the map to maybe make adepts and shade in there when the Terran pushes out or something like that.
Yeah, it could have been that he was expecting ByuN to move out early with concussive shells, and he's like, well, if I am able to defend with 3 gateways, and then I can warp in and move across the map and get damage done, that'll be big for me, but it just never actually happened. We're gonna have a charge first opening here for SOS. ByuN doing the slow build play, going for a Widowmine Marine drop while taking into a Raven. And I believe the interference matrix is just him bluffing the hallucinated Phoenix Scout. I'd be shocked if that upgrade finished. In fact, even the Raven gets canceled.
Okay.
Oh, no, it didn't. The tab just changed. I just completely had like the object permanence of a baby.
Yeah. It's gone. It never existed.
You might not even have a starport anymore. Those are only ground units.
So he, oh my God, the micro here. Unfortunately, this battery's making it not so good. Kind of a funny exchange there. 2 probes killed, not bad.
Pretty nice for us. Pretty nice for SOS. Sorry to run you over there. Pretty nice for SOS also for the Widowmine to hit the 1 Zealot that was on like 1 HP as well.
Yeah. And now, it's going to be that same 2-basing. I'm so interested that ByuN's doing this. Now, ByuN might also think that there are other Protosses in the tournament. ByuN, by the way, almost got to round 4 last season. ByuN's looked extremely strong. I would put him in top 6 here in GSL players, honestly. I thought he was going to get top 4 back there. But, yeah, I mean, this is one of these plays where if you could just kind of get that piercing damage, you can maybe do something fatal to the Protoss. And, you don't have to show the other styles of play you have. Remember that a lot of Terrans against other Protosses are basically trying to camp out and then marauder their way and ghost their way through the late game. And this it's less intel in the ecosystem for the other Protosses that are watching, right? They're going, well, he's not going to do this against me. And again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he does this later on in the season. I'm happy to eat my words, but I'm looking at this, and this is a very specific play style versus a player I think ByuN perceives that he's stronger than. Now, this could blow up in his face, and he could lose very well. So we'll see if this is the right way to play or not.
Yeah, and ByuN is, I think, running back the game that he played in Game number 1. This build looks basically identical. We have the 3 barracks here in the main base. There is no 3rd command center. The siege tanks are already out on the map, and ByuN is angling towards a timing attack that should hit in about a minute or so. Once combat shields and infantry weapons +1 are both done, and that just completely toppled SOS at a previous game. But this time it's going to be a little bit different. SOS is already going into splash damage. I feel like the economic development of SOS has been significantly faster in this game as well. So he should be able to muster up more forces than he did in game number 1. And SOS also notably scouts the move out of ByuN, and he's buying himself valuable time, dropping these zealots in the main base.
Okay, not bad. The drop over here, I don't even know if SOS has realized it yet. He pulls away at the last second. It's funny, he's going to take out that pylon. Okay,
Ooh.
SOS, oh, he loses the Warp Prism. The whole counterattack potential is gone. Oh, ByuN is just going to bleed these off, I guess.
Yeah, losing the Warp Prism is not pretty, but at the very least, SOS was able to buy himself a lot of time.
Yep.
I mean, that might be an extra 1 minute he has on the clock to get up Thermal Lance, to get up one more Colossus.
And by the way, the splash damage, I think, is how you stop this, is you just laser this all down. The clumpiness of the Terran army is punished. And I think this is a little bit too early here for ByuN. Actually, this is going to work, though, going into the main. You want to draw the rest of the army back there.
Oh, SOS trying to meet this army in the middle of the map right now. He has force fields available, and they are well placed, but I think he might have let a couple too many Marauders through, as they are going to focus fire down the Colossi. Oh, SOS with a big smile. I think he knows that that was a moment that he wishes he could take back.
Saw those auto turrets go behind the Colossus. Like, no, I am absolutely killing this. I think the game's over now. SOS lost the definitive tech. He was not paired with his army. GG. ByuN is moving on to that final match here for the round of 12.
Yeah, and SOS is knocked out of the round of 12, but it was really good to see him again. This is one of the greatest players in Starcraft 2 history, and he's shown that he can absolutely still hang with players like here, with players like ByuN. He's gotten here to the Codas once again. I hope we see him again in future seasons.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool that he made it this far, but I mean, this is a tough group, and honestly, ByuN played a lot better. ByuN able to rely on the 2-base pushes all the way to the end here.
Yeah, really well played there by ByuN, just knowing exactly what he has to do to beat SOS, and he's going to be advancing into the final match of the day versus Shin, the runner-up from the previous season, and the player who actually denied ByuN an entrance into the round of 4.
All right, guys, we're taking a break. When we come back, the final best of 3 of the evening.